with the Irish News in Belfast says Sinn Féin are being treated with greater respect lately.
Michelle O'Neill's entitled to be First Minister. Sinn Féin control most of the councils in the north of Ireland now. And of course, they are the biggest party in Ireland. So when she goes there, she's speaking with authority and, an electoral strength that just cannot be ignored. That Sinn Féin represent the majority of voters in the north.
The Minister for Rural and Community Development is travelling to Donegal today. Minister Heather Humphreys will officially launch Donegal's broadband connection point network, which will supply clubs and community centres with good quality broadband. While on her visit, the Minister is also set to open a number of facilities, including Brookles Community Park. A new campaign will be launched today to help struggling homeowners and those finding it hard to repay other loans or credit cards. The Banking and Payments Federation is joining forces with MABS to launch a special website dealing with debt.ie. Brian Hayes of the BPFI says the campaign is there to help anyone who is under pressure.
It's absolutely essential that lenders provide solutions for people, particularly at pre-arrears. But the good news is we're not seeing significant upticks in the level of pre-arrears right now. But of course, as we go forward and as the potential of additional rate rises into the summer increases, we've got to stand ready to help those customers if a difficulty emerges.
Liam Byrne's arrest has been described as the most significant since the beginning of the Hutch-Kinahan feud. The Dubliner has been held by Spanish police in Mallorca since Sunday, and efforts are being made to extradite him. Byrne had been living in Dubai, where many other key members of the Kinahan cartel also located. Special correspondent with the Irish Independent, Paul Williams, says it's a major blow to the organised crime group.
Liam Byrne is one of the most significant figures who has been arrested by the Garda since the breakout of this notorious Hutch-Kinahan feud. Liam Byrne is a man with an awful lot of blood on his hands. He's a violent, arrogant, devious thug. This is a major, major blow to the entire Kinahan organisation, because this is another senior figure gone, and it shows that the net is closing.
And now for the weather. Today will be mostly dry and sunny. Highest temperatures of 19 to 23 degrees generally, but not as warm near the coast in light to moderate easterly breezes. That's all for now. I'll be back with the next news update at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. This is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio with Donal Kavanagh with you on the programme this morning until, as the name suggests, 12 noon. We have a lot of guests lined up to speak to over the course of the morning. But as always, your comments, your participation and your perceptions are at the absolute key of this programme. If you want to speak to us, you can make contact with us on 086 60 25,000. You can use that for text messages and also for WhatsApp messages. You can call us, of course, 074 91 25,000, or you can use social media. It's Highland Radio on Twitter. It's Highland Hub on Facebook. You can email comments at highlandradio.com. And as we always say, if you would like to make contact with the show by letter, you can always write to the show. It's the 9 till Noon Show, Highland Radio, Pine Hill, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. But as we always say, Highland Radio, Letterkenny, Donegal will get to where it needs to be. Starting off with the newspapers on this Tuesday morning. It is the 6th of June, by the way, and as I always say when I do the show on a Tuesday after a bank holiday, if I sort of start to call the show Monday, which I almost inevitably at some point I will say Monday this morning, please forgive me, we all do it on a bank holiday Tuesday, so if I call today Monday, you'll know what I mean. It is Tuesday the 6th of June. We have the Donegal Democrat before the this morning. And the main headline, Donegal soaks up bank holiday sunshine, and a lovely picture of crowds at the Rory Gallagher Festival in Ballyshannon taken from the back of the stage. If I have one regret this weekend is that I wasn't able to make it to the Rory Gallagher Festival, but I was involved in Relay for Life in Letterkenny, which was a huge success as well. And because of my involvement in Relay, I couldn't get to Ballyshannon because I haven't quite mastered this by location yet. And it's a shame because some great gigs, as always, in Ballyshannon this weekend. Donegal baked in tropical temperatures over the June bank holiday weekend. The mercury hit the high 20s as the sun's beams scorched the county. Thousands flocked to Ballyshannon for the Rory Gallagher Festival, and there were also major events right across the county of Donegal, and rightly so as well. Derry Journal this morning, housing is just unaffordable. Now, this is a piece you may have heard actually on the news last week, because we did have the clip from the Dáil of this particular story. Housing is just unaffordable. The huge disparity between earnings in Donegal and Dublin means that housing is unaffordable. For most people, it's been claimed, Deputy Thomas Pringle told the Dáil, low earnings are locking people out of the housing market. CSO figures show that earnings in Donegal remain among the lowest in the country. And as I say, if you want to go into our news section on our website, you can actually hear that Dáil piece from Deputy Thomas Pringle. If you scroll back, it was on, I think, Thursday or Friday of last week. Irish Independent, cities outside capital suffer biggest spike in crime rates. Cities outside of Dublin have recorded the highest spike in crime rates compared to pre-pandemic levels. An analysis of crime figures by the Irish Independent reveals that 252 out of a total of 564 Garda stations nationwide witnessed crime levels in 2022 that were beyond pre-pandemic levels, including 119 stations recording a 5-year peak. Stations in cities such as Cork, Limerick and Waterford had the highest increases. Irish Times this morning. A name you're going to hear an awful lot, and you've heard it on the news already, and you're going to hear this name, I suspect, an awful lot over the coming days and indeed weeks and months. Liam Byrne to face firearms charges after arrest in Majorca. Dubliner is alleged to have run Kinahan cartel's operations in the Republic, move seen as one of the most significant acts since the Kinahan-Hutch feud began. Dubliner Liam Byrne, who allegedly ran the Kinahan cartel's operations in the Republic, is expected to be extradited to Britain to face serious firearms charges after his arrest in Majorca at a family reunion. He had flown from Dubai to Majorca via Parma Airport on May 26th, but was arrested on Sunday evening while in a restaurant in Majorca. Irish Daily Mail this morning. NCT firm to be fined millions for long delays. Junior Minister says service a complete failure. But company blames motorists claiming $3,500 a week are not turning up for their test. The company operating the failing NCT service is to be hit with millions of euro in penalties for the chaos in the system. Minister Jack Chambers described attempts by Atlas to run the service as a complete failure, as motorists face months of delays in getting a test. Some are facing a wait of 200 days or into 2024 for an appointment. Garda revealed that drivers could be prosecuted or have their vehicles seized if stopped while driving without an NCT. The company hitting back, saying an awful lot of this is down to drivers themselves not turning up for appointments. I'm sure there's an element of that. Whether that's actually causing the problems in the system, I could not say I am at all convinced of that. Also, there's a piece, once you waded through Holly's compassion, her words were utterly brutal. Jan Moore's verdict, and you can read all about that on pages 6 and 7. This, I take it to be a reference to Good Morning and the whole Philip Schofield controversy, and does Philip Schofield deserve the grilling he's getting in the media at the moment? There is no doubt the media at this point, and I said the media in inverted commas, I would sort of slightly amend that to say the tabloid media in particular do seem to have it in for Philip Schofield at the moment. And it's interesting, the different commentators in the different papers, as I say, the Mail, once you waded through the compassion, Holly's words were utterly brutal. There's a piece on the Irish Daily Mirror with, again, a lovely, it's in fact the same picture of Holly with her hands sort of clasped in front of her. If you're actually looking at our screen today, I'll just hold it up to the screen. And remember, you can watch the show, by the way, on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, or on our Facebook pages as well. So this is Holly. And the Irish Daily Mirror's take is, shaken and worried, Holly fights back tears. So Daily Mail, she's brutal. On this one, she's fighting back tears. Take your pick, take your perspective. And the main headline in the Irish Daily Mirror, thug nabbed in restaurant last supper for Kinahan Chief Byrne, mobster facing up to 20 years behind bars for selling weapons. Now, there is a small little matter of a trial first, but hey, that doesn't really make an interesting headline, does it? This is the moment that Kinahan Lieutenant Liam Byrne was led away after his arrest in Spain. He was eating dinner with his 2 children in Mallorca on Sunday. Irish Daily Star, and the puns abide on this one. I have to say, I do like the sort of the sub-headline, tapas on the shoulder. Now, that's kind of clever. Would Sir care to see the a la cartel menu is the main headline. Yeah. Would Sir care to see the a la cartel menu? And again, Spanish restaurant swoop after gangster Liam jets in from Dubai. And then the front of the Irish Sun, Kinahan mob chief nailed in Spain, sunburned, B-Y-R-N-E-D is the main headline, lifted during family meal out, probed over cartel gun haul. Kinahan chief Liam Byrne is in custody and facing extradition after taking a last minute holiday, and one would assume that's a holiday he probably wishes he did not take, given what has happened. But he's being extradited, it seems, initially into the UK, and he could face up to 20 years behind bars, we're told. Right, that's how things are looking in the papers this morning. As I say, if you want to give your perceptions or your perspective on the news today, or indeed raise any points with us, you can do so on 086 60 25,000 by text or WhatsApp. You can call us 074 91 25,000. Caroline producing and taking your calls, and you've taken calls for the show this morning as well. Now, as we say, a lot to happen. Before we do anything else, we'll take a very short break. Back after these.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
Connolly's MG now open in Colony, County Sligo, the latest addition to the Connolly Motor Group family. Find your perfect MG driving experience with the award-winning range of fully electric and hybrid vehicles at our new showroom at Northwest Business Park, Colony, County Sligo. Inquire about our full range today with our team on 071 910 6950 or visit our website connellys.ie.
For great value in suits, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top labels like Rima Zumo, White Label, Spectre and Daniel Graham. For the finishing touch, there's also a great choice of shirts, ties and footwear. Extra reductions for all wedding parties. At Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny. See watsonmenswear.com.
Is your home or motor insurance up for renewal? Now is the time to check if your policy still offers you the right cover and the right fit at the right price. To be sure you're getting the best deal, take this opportunity to shop around. It's easier than you think. Simply contact your insurer or broker today. Remember, don't just renew, review. For more information, visit understandinginsurance.ie. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
This summer, enjoy the tastiest burger in town for less at Kelly's Diner, Letterkenny. With Jake's famous burgers, there's your choice of burger, beef, chicken or veggie, all freshly prepared, with your pick of delicious toppings and sides. Selected burger deals every weekend. Find the best value burger in town. Jake's Burgers at Kelly's Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It's 9:15, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Donal with you until 12 noon today. Right, you'll be aware, or will you, that on-call firefighters are taking industrial action from today in a dispute over working hours and pay. Firefighters won't be servicing any of their equipment or attending training drills for the duration of the action. The recruitment and retention crisis in the service is contributing to the action, and I'm joined on the line by SIP2 organiser Kevin McKinney. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Donal, and good morning to the listeners.
Now, Kevin, the reason I prefaced this by saying you'll be aware, or will you, is that I did see a statement from SIP2 last Friday in which the union was very concerned at the fact that they believed that local authorities were not publicising the fact that this has happened, and they were concerned that members of the public did not know that this was on the cards. Is that your experience in Donegal?
Well, really, that's exactly what it is. Not very many people seem to know. I think after this week, word will start to get out, and there'll have to be action from the employer. So I know it's a serious situation, and it will escalate over the next 3 weeks. And that's a serious problem for our members and for the community in general.
Now, at present, your members are functioning. If there were to be an emergency, at this point in time, your members will respond. What they're doing at the moment, they're not going to service equipment or attend training drills and so on and so forth. You believe it could at some point escalate from there?
Well, we have a plan. This week, it's industrial action. Next week, will be industrial action plus rolling strikes. So we'll decide, we're meeting today, and we'll decide how that'll roll out in Donegal. We have 15 stations here. And then the week after that, we will be moving to an all-out strike. Now, this is national as well. It's not just in Donegal. So the impact that will have will be difficult to foresee at this point in time. But this is the space that our members have been put in. And to be honest, we've been trying to resolve this for years. And I mean that, Donal. Years we've been at this. We can't continue the way we are. The retention and recruitment is in crisis for most part of the country, and it's going to get worse, not better, unless something happens, unless something changes.
One of the issues that's made by the union is that the terms and conditions under which you have to work are extremely restrictive. Now, you're on call, and you can be on call pretty much 24/7. You may be working another job, you may be at another pursuit, but you are on call, and because of that, you're limited in where you can work, you're limited in where you can live, you're limited in where you can be, and even when you are not actually working as a firefighter, when you're on call, you are living under very, very restricted circumstances that do not pertain to anybody else who isn't at work.
That's correct. You're basically on call 24/7. You do get annual leave, but apart from that, you're on and you have to be attending. Now, if you look at what we have in Donegal as a fact, we have a number of stations, with 2 stations actually, who would be manned to 15 of a crew. That's what they're meant to be because they're a 2-pump station. Then the rest of the stations are 1-pump station, and that requires a manning level of 9 people. And you must roll, when an incident happens, you roll at a minimum of 6. That's the safety procedures that's required. Now, we can't fulfil that in some of the stations at this present moment in time. So we're undermanned, and then when people do turn out, when the staff turn out to an incident, they can be going with maybe less than the 6, and that puts the firefighters themselves in danger. But when you look at it from a time-consuming situation that you refer to, by being on call 24/7, a lot of our firefighters, in fact the majority of them, will have to give up life events for their kids and their families, Holy Communions, confirmations, and all that goes with that, to have a family life away from the service. Once they're on call, and they get up and they go. Now, the other restriction is you have to live within a 5-kilometre radius of the station that you're attached to, and that in itself means that if you were to go off anywhere, if you have to go into Jerry's shopping, for example, you must put it on the board that you're going away for that hour or an hour and a half or whatever. The management need to know where you're at all times in the event of something happening, so they can legislate for it. But the reality is our guys have a huge commitment. It's more like a vocation for them, that they apply themselves to the job 110%.
And presumably as well, and presumably, even if we break it down to something as simple as if you are on call and your mate rings up and says, look, the weather is lovely, are you coming down to the pub for a pint? You have got to say to them, I cannot go for a pint because my pager could go off in 5 minutes.
Not a hope. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to be on your guard at all times. And even, I'll give you an example. Today we're meeting with management, and this is a management meeting to discuss the actual strike next week and what we will be doing and what we won't be doing. And we will probably have maybe 4 or 5 people there at that meeting out of 15. So that tells you they can't leave the area they're in. They haven't got the cover. And that was the same last week when we met with management. So it's not even management to be able to turn around and say, look, you come, we'll sort you out when you come, and you must be there. Yeah. The guys can't leave. That's how bad it is. So you have to understand this is unique, and it is a vocation. The guys do over and above, and we're at breaking point. And if you look across the country, there's other counties worse than us, and some might be a bit better, but we know this is just a time bomb waiting to go off, and we have to deal with it now. This can't continue. The other thing too to note is that the guys get a retainer, and it's paid quarterly in arrears, and that retainer goes up with the service. But that retainer isn't. When you look, if you go for a mortgage or look for a loan, it's not taken into consideration either. It's not considered a job, so it is really part time. And it really is demand all the time on a person's time.
Moving on from the question of the retainer, the other issue that's been raised is the fact that you don't qualify for pensions, or that your service as a firefighter, you believe, should qualify for a higher pension, and there's question marks over the level of pension you get and what needs to be done in order to create a more satisfactory situation for yourselves. Talk us through that whole thorny issue of pension.
Well, that's another thing too, yeah. Because it's not recognised, pension, the pay that they get for turning out to drills or courses or going to an incident, I mean, they get paid. I'm not sure off the top of my head exactly what the figure is. It depends on what service you have and so forth, and what grade you're at. But that money is the only piece that's pensionable. Now, there is a change in the pension scheme that was done under the public service agreement. And the way that's impacted on the retained fire service now, heretofore you have got a gratuity, which would have been a lump sum payment when you retired. That no longer is there. And the pension that the fire service gets is minimal. It's very low. So it's just, they will not be dependent on, let me put it that way, when they come to retirement.
As you've said, this has been ongoing, Kevin, now for a number of years. Management know the issues, the union knows the issues, everyone involved in these discussions know the issues right up to government. It's been discussed on the floor of the Dáil. It's been raised by a number of TDs. It's been raised in the Seanad. It's been discussed, and it's been discussed quite a bit on the airwaves in the corridors of power, etc. Are you getting any sense that there is a move towards resolution here, or is it going to take an escalation of strike, and is it actually going to take the muscle of a union and the muscle of the voice of the workers in order to make something happen?
Well, I give you my honest assessment. I'm looking at it from where I am, and I have been involved in the National Committee meetings. And as far as I can see at the moment, there is no give from government or management. They have cited the public service agreement that it's a pay increase, and as such, under the public service agreement, they will not be doing anything with pay. But it's much more than that. It's about the life that the guys lead when you become a retained firefighter. That life is completely different to a normal 9-to-5 job. And the difficulty that we have now is if government continue like they are, it will take the muscle and the plight of the workers and the union to actually achieve anything out of this, because we've talked around this for so long. And when I say years, I'm talking 5+ years that this has been going on, that we've been highlighting these issues. How long it even takes to get someone recruited and so forth. And when you look at areas like in Donegal, where we have Glencolin, for example, if you talk about Moville, Carndona, well, I mean, the catchment area for recruiting someone is very, very difficult. And young people now who would have been able to get a job locally have to move away, maybe to the main centres, whether it be Dublin, Galway, Cork or whatever, in order to get a job, and then they can't have a job locally within the fire service. So we don't have an catchment of people to actually take it on. So we have to do something. We have to change the model. What that's going to look like will depend on serious negotiation, and it means that both sides, when they come to the table, have to come with meaningful input. And at the moment, it's all one-sided. We're asking and getting nowhere. Government and management are basically saying, no, it is what it is. They fluttered around the edges, if you don't mind me saying, in terms of giving more leave, maybe increasing the numbers. But you can't increase the numbers if the model's still the same. You have got to change the model. So,
and as you say, they can promise to increase the numbers all they like, but if they can't recruit and if they can't retain, then promises to increase numbers are pretty much meaningless.
Meaningless, and that's the point, Donal. And people need to understand that, and I hope your listeners do understand that. And if anyone knows a fireman out there, when something happens, you know the local fireman, you know he's going to be there to help you. And in a serious situation, if you take Donegal and some of the horrific accidents that we've had in this county, and the firemen have all attended those incidents, that's traumatic in itself. And people need to understand, they're not taking this lightly. They've come through some serious situations and will in the future. And it's not even mentioned, The firemen know what they do. We know, and I know what they do. But does the general public really get it? Unless it hits your door, you probably don't.
Of course, and there's going to be a lot more discussion about this over the coming days and weeks, I suspect. For the moment, Kevin McKinney, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning. That action starting today. It's starting today as industrial action, refusing to take part in training, refusing to check equipment. It will escalate as time goes on, and we wait to see what's going to happen with this dispute. In the meantime, Kevin McKinney, thank you very much. Now, if you are... Yes? Thank you, Kevin. Now, if you are planning a flight today, particularly if you're flying to a destination that involves travelling over French airspace, you may have difficulties because dozens of flights in and out of the country have been cancelled. Airlines that transit over French airspace are facing disruption as air traffic controllers there protest over an increase in their retirement age. Passengers with concerns are advised to check with their airlines. We've been informed of cancellations in flights to Cagliari, Marseille, Amsterdam, Basel, Nice, Biarritz, Beauvais, Carcassonne, Murcia, Reus, and that is by no means, I suspect, an exhaustive list. Now, let's talk to a man who knows what's happening. Owen Corrie is the editor of Air and Travel magazine, and Owen joins us via Zoom. Owen, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. I'm in Istanbul for the World Aviation Summit here. Good conversation with Willie Walsh about this yesterday. As you say, some of those flights cancelled or overflights. He says it's an intolerable situation. Closing down airspace is one thing. Closing it down for people flying to Murcia, Reus and Cagliari is another.
In terms of the advice always to people in situations like this is first and foremost contact your airline, both in terms of confirming whether or not you're flying today and also arranging alternative flights, and it's going to be difficult over the next couple of days, but I suppose that's the situation we're in. Is this the start of a series of these actions? Because we know there's an ongoing protest in France over a proposal to increase the retirement age, and the suggestions are that this is not the end, this is the start.
Yes, the ongoing I think it's the 14th day of action on the pension situation that you mentioned. The reality is this is one of the last shakes of the dice. It's supposed to be a very big day of action to finally, because the change in the retirement age in France, listeners will be familiar with it, has effectively gone through. But the air traffic control thing is all separate. There's a whole load of separate legacy issues with air traffic control. You have 3 competing unions. They compete on belligerence. They compete for members. They try to make each tries to make themselves a little bit noisier than the other one, and that is a big problem for Irish passengers. It's been going on for more than 10 years. That we have a series of strikes. They tend to strike over the summer, and the Marseille region is probably the one with the worst record for striking. The way it works, Donal, is the unions let the authorities know they're going on strike. The DGAC, who are the French air traffic control, they tell airlines you have to cancel a proportion of your flights. Generally, it's around 20%. So you got to remember, we have 26 flights a day coming to and from Dublin, something about 10 from Belfast, and 3 or 4 from Cork and Shannon at this time of the year. And most of those are flying. We've lost 6 flights to and from France from Dublin, 1 from Cork. The rest are all flying. The airline will get in touch with the passenger. Really, they're good at it. They've had loads of practice, they have everybody's details, text messages. They tell you when your new flight is. They reroute you, and in this day and age, with the technology and the different platforms that they have with email and text message, they're very good at letting passengers know no need to show up at the airport for a non-existent flight. Contacting your airline is, as you say, the general advice. But remember, most flights are flying, so unless you've heard from your airline, assume that you're actually taking off.
Those watching us on our social media or YouTube channel will see your background picture of a lovely, quiet airport. Now, the last time I was in an airport was Schiphol in Amsterdam on the Saturday morning of the first Saturday in July last year. It was nowhere near as quiet and placid as that, I can assure you. How are airports functioning this summer, Owen? Because we know last year, because of the post-pandemic drop in security staff and the failure to recruit more in time, there were horrendous situations. And as I said, Schiphol, first Saturday in July, you did not want to be in that airport on that day. And I eventually got on board a flight thinking if I never see an airport again, I'll be happy. Have things improved this year?
And I must fess up, that's a background that I use because it's a nice quiet Dublin airport in a winter
well, I'm fairly sure that is not a first Saturday morning in July anyway.
I'm flying back through Schiphol later on today. Schiphol was described by Willie Walsh, who is ex-CEO and British Airways CEO. He's from Glasnevin in Dublin. Listeners may be familiar with him. He's now the CEO of IATA, which is the World Aviation Body. He described Schiphol yesterday as the worst airport in the world. I think he was making a terrific, just a point on how far it's declined from being very, very good. The reality is that airports are very busy. We had a terrible summer last year. Schiphol was one of the worst offenders for lost baggage. Connecting hubs in Europe, Frankfurt, Amsterdam, but particularly Heathrow lost a lot of bags, and Toronto coming across the other side had a big reputation for bag loss. A lot of that was due, Donal, to the fact that all the airports, airlines, everyone scaled down during the pandemic, and they underestimated the demand for last summer. They didn't get the staff hired in. There was a particular problem with security clearances in Dublin, that a new licensing system was brought in, and the whole place was basically held together with two meltdowns, end of March, end of May. But a lot of things like cleaning of toilets, serving of food, all of those sort of things, they broke down. There was some excuse for it last summer. There's no excuse for it this summer. Everybody should be up and running for a really, really heavy period. The biggest problem, and Donegal people would need no reminding of this, is that car parking in Dublin Airport for a lot of weeks is unbookable. The car parks are full. They've 26,000 spaces owned by Dublin Airport. There are 6,000 other spaces which are owned by private operator.
That's Quick Park, yeah. I remember it well. I used to use
out of commission. Yeah. So the car parks are full, and car parking will remain the biggest single issue for Dublin Airport. I do expect problems elsewhere, though, with all of that baggage handling. Quite clearly, Heathrow is not back up to anything like it should be, not back to the pre-pandemic levels.
So, I mean, what I always do if I'm flying out of Dublin, almost because obviously it's a 4-hour drive, well, 3.5 to 4 hour drive down from Donegal, is we usually book into one of the hotels close to the airport and book a hotel stay and car park deal and use that. Now, the advice I'm sure at this stage would be, if you're going to do that, book as far ahead as possible. Don't assume you'll get that deal the week before you're flying.
Absolutely, and the car, they will look after your car. They will actually let you park and shuttle in to the airport from the hotels. A lot of the hotels around the airport have that. Book in advance, very obvious. Interestingly, when I came through the airport at the weekend on my way out to Istanbul here, a lot of people had booked only 10 days or 2 weeks in advance, and I got to reasonably good rates. They used to have incentives. They used to give you discounted stuff if you booked in advance from the car parks. Those really are not available, which makes car parking a little bit more expensive, and people are complaining about the price as well. But the reality is that a lot of the key dates, and the peak date for Dublin Airport is going to be that last weekend in July and the August bank holiday weekend. The car parks are already blocked off. They're full. A certain number of spaces are kept for emergency situations. A lot of people are really disconnected. They don't know, they've never heard anything about it. And I met some of them at the weekend. They were able to pick up the ticket and get the car parking space, but don't assume that's going to be available.
Do we know, is the Quick Park site going to be recommissioned, or is it on the market, or what's the story with it? Because I would have been a user of Quick Park back in the day, and it was a very good service. And it also, I suppose, it also gave competition to the Dublin Airport car parks themselves, and there was no harm in that price-wise either.
Yeah, absolutely. Competition is the key here, because Dublin Airport has offered to buy the site and they want to operate it. But the Competition Commissioner has said, we're going to have a look at this. Those sort of things take ages. Anyone who's looked for planning permission for a new window knows how long it takes. And the way it works is the day they're supposed to give you the decision, they look for more documentation. That appears to be happening here. The February they put in to operate, Dublin Airport Authority put in to operate the Quick Park. March they got a request for more documentation. They say they are ready to do it. They'll be able to get it up and running within maybe a week. That's Kenny Jacobs said to me it can be done in a week, probably 10 days, 2 weeks. They have the buses, they have all the technology. The listeners will be familiar with the app that you use for booking your parking. And the question is the political will or the willingness there to circumvent the system without affecting the long-term judgment by the competition people that will allow an operator, there's a couple of private operators say they can do it as well, but let's say Dublin Airport Authority allowed them to operate the system, the amount of pressure that would take off people. It would release 6,000 spaces immediately, and the amount of pressure it would take off people. It's traveling is a very stressful business anyway, before you start worrying about whether you can park your car.
Owen Corrie, thank you very much indeed. It's illuminating as always, and enjoy the rest of your conference in Istanbul, and safe home, and may your trip through Schiphol be efficient, quiet and relaxing.
I hope so.
You'll be lucky.
It's always a pleasure.
Owen, thank you very much indeed. That's Owen Corrie there, the editor of Air and Travel magazine, and speaking to us. So, as Owen said there, the airline, if you're due to fly over France today and there is an issue with your flight, the airline should be in touch. They'll be in touch with alternative arrangements. But a number of flights out of Dublin and also Cork and Shannon being cancelled today as a result of that action. It's 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Irish sun doesn't really count. Right?
Look, we all deserve a bit of sun.
Skin cancer is the most common cancer in Ireland. So whether you're at home or abroad, protect your skin by following these sun smart steps. Slip into long loose clothes, slop on the sunscreen, slap on a sun hat, seek shade. Yeah, even on the cloudy days. Oh, and slide on the sunglasses.
I do have very funky sunglasses.
And I do love this hat.
Be Sun Smart from the HSE and Healthy Ireland.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Join the DMG Motors team at our Skoda test event on the 9th and 10th of June at Kavanagh's Super Value Buncrana. Take a test drive and be in with the chance of winning a shopping voucher. Or order a new car and you will receive a free €250 shopping voucher for Kavanagh's Super Value. Drop by and test drive your new Skoda car on the 9th and 10th of June. For more information, call DMG Motors on 07497 21396. Skoda, made for Donegal.
Bigger really is better when it comes to great value in TVs at Ben Sweeney Euronics. Raymond Sweeney here to tell you about some of our big screen TVs, like the LG 55-inch Smart TV for $529 with a free LG X-Boom portable speaker worth €200, or the LG 65-inch screen for $649, and the amazing 70-inch model for just $749 while stocks last. Get the screen you've always wanted for less right now at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Port Road, Letterkenny, and the shopping centre Dunlow.
The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, and a very good morning to you if you're just joining us. A special good morning to all those who are joining us online via Facebook or our YouTube channel. Good morning to Mary, to Annie, to Paul, to Elaine, to Charlie, to Bree, and thank you very much indeed, Bree, for your nice comments. I want to say a special good, and as I say, good morning to Charlie. Charlie asking me, is there good stuff in that bottle? Charlie, I can tell you there are 3 things in this bottle. There's H, there's 2, and there's O. And yes, it is actually quite nice and refreshing on a morning like this. And a big hello as well to all those listening, be it online or wherever you may be. And hello to Rosemary as well, of course. Now, Senator Gerard Craughwell joins us on the line because there was recently an article that said the Defence Forces here have destroyed more than 3,600 weapons, including rifles that would have been of considerable value to collectors. Strict rules prohibit the military from selling weaponry to anyone except the manufacturer or, where feasible, another government. Now, sources do say the weapons which were decommissioned could have netted a significant payback for the state. Now, joined on the line by Senator Gerard Craughwell, who has a history in the military and is something of an expert on military matters. Senator Craughwell, good morning.
Good morning to you. Good morning to your listeners. And delighted to see you on YouTube and online. Great initiative on your part.
And hopefully the next time we converse, we can do so on Zoom and we can get to see you as well as hear you. Gerard, in terms of the sale of spare military items, you believe that the government is missing a trick here in terms of the money that's being lost?
Honestly, they miss a trick every time we scrap things, particularly in defence. But if you take a trip to France to visit the Somme, anywhere around the Somme, you'll find 303 rifles for sale at anything between 400 and 500 euros each. If they're decommissioned, they're more expensive than the ones that are not decommissioned. So it baffles me that we couldn't sell what weapons we were destroying to an agent who would then dispose of them on the market.
The concern is always going to be that to speak of decommissioned weapons going to collectors is all very well. Is there not always a risk that once weapons go to agents and go onto international markets, that they may find themselves falling into the hands of those we do not wish to have them, and it's better to play it safe?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I say that we sell them on to agents, we sell them on to agents on the basis that they have been completely decommissioned and are of no value with respect to being fired. They're merely display items at that stage. And I mean, if they can do it in France, surely to God we can do it here.
You are making the point that, in your view, civilians should not be making policy decisions in areas in which they have little knowledge. Are you suggesting then that the future and fate of these weapons should be actually made by army personnel rather than made by government or committees?
Yeah, I think what should happen is those with the expertise in the area should advise government with respect to how something should be disposed of. And once that advice is given and once government are satisfied, or particularly the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, which I sit on myself, once we're satisfied that the weapons can be safely decommissioned and cannot be recommissioned, if you want, then I think we should be open to find the highest bidder for them and possibly auction them on the open market. The last thing I want to see is a usable weapon being sold, but certainly the collector's items. Many people I know, particularly up there in Donegal, over in Galway, down in Limerick, Cork, Kilkenny, Dublin, would cherish the opportunity to have a beautiful 303 rifle decommissioned hanging on their wall. Browning revolvers, exactly the same thing. Some of the heavy stuff there's no real market for, but I suppose there's a market for the heavy stuff in the film industry, but apart from that there's no real market for it.
You've also made the point that you believe it goes way beyond revolvers and rifles and even things like helicopters and ships, and the state has, you believe, lost literally millions on the sale of some heavy items like that.
Absolutely. We sold off the helicopters for a pittance. We sold them with spare engines, spare parts, all sorts of goodies with them for a couple of 100,000 as far as I recall at the time. And they went on to be sold for many, many millions and are in service today, I think, in Chile or some one of the South American countries as flying aircraft with the military. We sold off a naval ship for a couple of 100,000 euros, and I believe that ship was subsequently sold on for something like 6 million. So it is heartbreaking to see valued items being sold so cheaply. Pardon me.
Bless you. Is it going to take legislation, do you believe, then, from the Dáil, or what legislation governs what's happening at the moment? And is the way this is done at the moment governed by legislation? Is it governed by regulations that can be changed by ministerial order? Or is it just, this is the way we've always done it?
It's governed by regulation, really, that can be changed at the stroke of the pen by a minister. But look, I mean, my view is that we take the least line of resistance whenever we're doing anything, and that includes selling off state assets. So the easiest way to deal with the weapons, for example, just probably quite expensive to decommission and destroy each one of those weapons. Beautiful, beautiful pieces of history. The 303 rifle, many of your listeners in Donegal will have fired a 303 rifle and never wanted to fire one again, given the kick they used to deliver to us. But I just think it is such waste. I fully understand and take your point that we should never have ourselves in a situation where a decommissioned weapon could become a lethal weapon again. But I think we need to sit down and look at how we do things. Our civil service by and large do a great job, but some of them should not be involved in making decisions about items like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help wonder, are ministers thinking, if it ever happened, it probably won't happen, but if it ever happened that a decommissioned weapon got into the hands of, we'll say, a gangster in Dublin, and it was used in a shooting, and it turned out that a weapon used in a killing, a gangland killing in this country, had originated in the Irish Defence Forces, I suspect the backlash in the press and the response and the reaction is something that no minister or government could survive. And I suspect it may very well be on that basis that this is the reason that this isn't changing. And it could take some discussion from people like yourselves to get a different mindset going there.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is always the possibility that some courier would, particularly the Browning revolvers that were destroyed, a nice, beautiful crafted weapon, but a small weapon. And if somebody walked into your petrol station or your shop today and pulled out a Browning revolver, are you going to ask them, is it a replica, is it fully loaded, or is it a decommissioned former defence? I doubt it. I think you'll just hand over the contents of the till and thank God that you weren't shot. So yes, there is that problem, but the 303 rifles are an entirely different equation. I can go to France today and I can buy a decommissioned 303 and I can import it into the country. I notify the Garda in advance, of course, that I was bringing it in, and I notify them that it was in fact a decommissioned weapon and would produce it for inspection when it came in. But I just think that we're missing a trick here, particularly when we're disposing of assets.
Certainly food for thought. Senator Gerard Crockwell, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed. That's Senator Gerard Crockwell there. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
This is not just chicken. This is buttermilk chicken in a crispy coating. This is katsu curry chicken, marinated in aromatic spices and rolled in golden breadcrumbs. This is chicken in a fiery, flaming hot and spicy crumb. And they're 3 for €12. These are not just chicken tenders. These are M&S chicken tenders. Subject to availability. T's and C's apply.
Ballyshannon and Killybegs Credit Union just got better. Our new current account comes with MasterCard debit card for use in store, online and contactless payments. All with lower transparent fees and with the same trusted personal service you are used to. Open your Ballyshannon Killybegs Credit Union current account today. Drop into branch or join online. Terms and conditions apply. Visit bkcreditunion.ie for details. Ballyshannon and Killybegs Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Looking for a fun family day out? Century Complex has something for everyone this summer. With delicious food at Backstage, hours of fun at Century Play, and exciting new releases coming to Century Cinemas, including Little Mermaid, The Flash, and Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny. Visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Around the Northwest will be live at Foy & Company's Letterkenny store this Friday the 9th to celebrate creating colourful homes. A 3-day Big Paint Weekend, which is on Thursday until Saturday at their Letterkenny and Ballybuffet stores. Book a free in-store colour consultation with a Dulux consultant in Letterkenny this Thursday or in Ballybuffet on Friday. Also call in and enter to win big prizes like a sofa, mattress, room makeovers, paint vouchers and more.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio, and a very good morning to you on this Monday morning. Donal Kavanagh with you on the programme this morning, and we're here on till noon today. Now, I have two very special guests in studio with me this morning. I have Tony McGilloway, who's president of Dunfanaghy Golf Club, and I have Sean Quinn, who is the head of sales here on Highland Radio. Tony, Sean, you're both very welcome.
Hi, Donal.
Very well indeed. Now, Dunfanaghy Golf Club is holding a 24 for 24 golf challenge. It's taking place on the 23rd and 24th of June. Tony, as president of the club, tell us all about this event.
Well, as you say, we have 32 players actually start on the 23rd. They're teeing off. We start teeing off at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they will continue to play for 24 hours and complete the following morning at 10 a.m. Hopefully they'll have managed to play at least 5 rounds of golf in that period of time. To my knowledge, and we've done a lot of searching on it, this has never been completed anywhere in the world, where you have a minimum of 24 players completing that number of rounds, and that's playing through the darkness and all.
Sean, as the head of sales at Highland and indeed the vice captain of the club in Dunfanaghy, I have to be honest, and I know you and I've known you for quite a few years, I see your hand all over this.
Actually, do you know what? I'm going to be honest. It's actually Tony's brainchild of that, because golf is hard enough, right? It's hard enough when you land at whatever time at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're going out and you're going to play 18 holes of golf. And I'm no spring chicken anymore, and I think at 18 holes, 36 is a stretch. But to do this now, this is pretty phenomenal, that 32 golfers are going to try and play 5 rounds of golf consecutively, and probably, let's be fair, at least one of those in the dark. It's going to be some challenge. And when Tony came and spoke to me about it, I thought, number one, I thought he's mad. But then when he's been so passionate about it, the club has rode in right behind him as well, and he's managed to get 32 others who are completely mad to go and do this in the pure darkness. So he has to be applauded, and it's going to be a brilliant event, absolutely fantastic. If we get this weather, there won't be much darkness, but it'll still be a huge challenge. And there's things that Tony will talk about is what are the challenges of playing in the dark?
Well, and he's that's how good he is. He's just taken my next question. I mean, presumably you're going to have to get some special spotlighting in, which will be portable, that you can sort of travel from hole to hole. But I mean, to stand up at a tee, someone that does this is going to have to know that course really well, because they will be hitting knowing that where they want the ball to be is somewhere over there in the darkness. But presumably they'll have to know the course so well that they can literally do it in the dark.
Well, Donal, we're not actually going to be that sore on them, so we're not, because we're going to provide them with golf balls with lights inside them.
Oh, lovely.
So we are, as you say, it's a challenge playing in the dark, because Dunfanaghy, as a lot of the members know, has got lots of drains in it.
Yeah.
They're hard enough to miss during the day. So missing them during the night, I don't know how we're going to manage that. But we have actually a sponsor who has come along and he's given us a thing called glow sticks. So we're actually going to have the drains lined, so that nobody ends up walking into them.
Yeah.
We're going to have a circle of glow sticks around the greens and in the holes themselves, so that we can actually see where we're going. We aren't actually going to put spotlights anywhere. All the lighting's going to be provided by a small head torch.
Right.
And apart from that, the challenge is, because it would actually take away, because we did talk about lighting up the course, but it will take away from I suppose somebody actually said, the romance of actually trying to do this in the darkness. And Sean did say, I am very lucky that I've had one of the challenges was to find another 24 maniacs, and we have found them. There are 32 of us, and they go from the ages of, I think the youngest 20 and the oldest, as far as I'm aware, in his I'll not give his exact age, but is in his mid 70s. I think I'm old doing it myself, but fair play to all of the boys that are taking on the challenge for doing it. None of us are spring chickens. There's a few young fellas there, but the majority of the golfers are getting on a bit in age.
Yeah, and it isn't as though, because it's a golf course and because it's a links course in particular, it's not all nicely paved paths and nice clear walkways. You're going to have to be very, very careful. However well you know that course, and you all know it very well, obviously, you're going to have to be very careful, because, I mean, if you put a foot wrong and trip or slip or whatever, it's potentially an iffy situation.
Yes, I agree with you there. And as I say, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that all the competitors are as safe as possible. As I say, we're providing, they'll all have high-vis jackets on them. They'll all have head torches to provide a path for them. And then, as I say, any hazards that are going to be out there will be lit up with glow sticks.
But they're still taking money on who's the first person to fall into the bunker.
Sean, time is about to catch up with us, and there will be an ad break to take soon, and I don't want to annoy our head of sales by not taking our ad breaks.
No.
So there are three benefiting charities from this, and three very important charities that are close to your hearts and close to the hearts of the people in that area.
Absolutely. So all the money raised is going to the Chrysler Disaster Fund, Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, and the Irish Society of Autism. Now, just a very quick one. There is still sponsorship availability for the tee boxes on the day. If you want to do that, you can call the golf club 074 9136335 or Tony on 089 418 5574. They're looking for medics that can be available for a couple of hours, just in case, especially during the nighttime hours. That's important. All the details are on Dunfanny Golf Club's Facebook page. It's a brilliant event. We're looking for people to support it, because it's, as you said, rightly so, it's for three brilliant charities.
And Tony, final word to yourself. Obviously, there's going to be 32 people, yourself included, actually out on the course playing this event, but it's going to literally take the support of hundreds of volunteers and backroom people involved with the club and beyond in the wider community to actually make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt I couldn't have done this, and none of the players are actually going to be able to do it without the support of the club. And in fairness, the local sponsors, we've been very lucky that we actually have four sponsors, four main sponsors there: Smiley Monroe, the Kilmac Group, McGinley Motors, and Maguire and Farry Accountants have all backed us from the point of view, because it is quite an expensive thing to put on as well. But as you say, the support of the club, the support of the locals, it's all part of the event.
Tony McGilloway, President of Dunfanny Golf Club, and Sean Quain, Vice Captain of the club and also Head of Sales and Marketing here at Highland Radio. Thank you both indeed very much, and we wish the event every success.
Thanks,
Donal.
Now is the time to experience all-electric driving for yourself with the Volkswagen Experience Electric Sales Event from the 9th to the 17th of June at your local Volkswagen retailer. Discover our all-electric cars, charging solutions, government incentives, and our latest market-leading 232 offers. Plus, test drive the Volkswagen ID range, Ireland's best-selling all-electric cars. Available for immediate delivery at your local Volkswagen retailer. Search Volkswagen ID. Volkswagen. Best-selling claim based on latest published figures.
Visit Connolly's Volkswagen at Canal Road, Letterkenny today. Book a test drive at connolly's.ie.
Charge into summer with TUI. Secure your holiday today with savings for families and adults flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
I've lost my car keys. Lost my car once in a multi-story. Lost my patience. My hair? Lost that a while back. But this week, I found things I thought had gone forever. The crackle of needle on vinyl. Leaves crunching. I found them all at Specsavers. I got free hearing aids with PRSI. And now those sounds are back. So's my joie de vivre. Still can't find those keys, though.
Book a free hearing test today. Terms and conditions apply. See our website for details.
The Reverend Jim Lamont presents an evening of music and song in Angrillen Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June at 8 p.m. with UP and Maria Doherty, Diane and Iona Holt, Diane Leckie, Andrea Long, Amy Meehan and the Region Quartet. Tickets €15 on sale now from the theatre box office. Proceeds in aid of the Donegal Hospice. An evening of music, stories and a Donegal farewell at Angrillen Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news at 10 o'clock. On-call firefighters have been staging industrial action since the early hours of this morning. SIPTU says local authorities have failed to address the recruitment and retention crisis in the brigade. Firefighters won't be attending training drills or testing their life-saving equipment like breathing apparatus. Speaking on this morning's 9 till noon show, Kevin McKinney, SIPTU organiser, says the meeting is taking place today to make a plan for Donegal's 15 stations for next week.
Well, we have a plan. This week it's industrial action. Next week will be industrial action plus rolling strikes. So we'll decide, we're meeting today and we'll decide how that'll roll out in Donegal. We have 15 stations here. And then the week after that, we will be moving to an all-out strike. Now, this is national as well. It's not just in Donegal. So the impact that will have will be difficult to foresee at this point in time.
The current stalemate over the stalled Stormont Parliament will be discussed in Washington today. The Sinn Féin leader in the North, Michelle O'Neill, will tell US politicians the DUP no longer has the mandate to prevent the Assembly from functioning. Her visit comes ahead of a similar trip to the US capital this week by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Dr Brian Feeney with the Irish News in Belfast says Sinn Féin are being treated with greater respect lately.
Michelle O'Neill's entitled to be First Minister. Sinn Féin control most of the councils in the north of Ireland now. And of course, they are the biggest party in Ireland. So when she goes there, she's speaking with authority and, an electoral strength that just cannot be ignored. That Sinn Féin represent the majority of voters in the north.
Liam Byrne's arrest has been described as the most significant since the beginning of the Hutch-Kinahan feud. The Dubliner has been held by Spanish police in Mallorca since Sunday, and efforts are being made to extradite him. Byrne had been living in Dubai, where other key members of the Kinahan cartel are also located. Special correspondent with the Irish Independent, Paul Williams, says it's a major blow to the organised crime group.
Liam Byrne is one of the most significant figures who has been arrested by the Gardaí since the breakout of this notorious Hutch-Kinahan feud. Liam Byrne is a man with an awful lot of blood on his hands. He's a violent, arrogant, devious thug. This is a major, major blow to the entire Kinahan organisation because this is another senior figure gone, and it shows that the net is closing.
There are concerns the lack of rainfall may lead to water shortages. Ishka Aaron is advising everyone to conserve supplies as much as possible. Linda Hughes from Met Aaron says there will be little to no rainfall in the coming days.
Kind of between now and Friday, really it is going to be very dry with very low amounts of rainfall, if anything. Just the odd shower possible in Ulster and North Connacht today, but really most places are going to stay dry for the rest of the working week.
A new campaign will be launched today to help struggling homeowners and those finding it hard to repay other loans or credit cards. The Banking and Payments Federation is joining forces with MABS to launch a special website, dealingwithdebt.ie. Brian Hayes of the BPFI says the campaign is there to help anyone who is under pressure.
it's absolutely essential that lenders provide solutions for people, particularly at pre-arrears. But the good news is we're not seeing significant upticks in the level of pre-arrears right now. But of course, as we go forward and as the potential of additional rate rises into the summer increases, we've got to stand ready to help those customers if a difficulty emerges.
Looking now to the weather, it will be mostly dry and sunny today. There'll be some clouds at times and just a slight chance of isolated showers developing later. Highest temperatures of 19 to 23 degrees generally, but not as warm near the coast in a light to moderate easterly breeze. That's all for now. I'll be back again with the news headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Tuesday morning, June 6th. The death has occurred of William Willie McDermott, 5 Knocknamona Terrace, Letterkenny, reposing at his late residence. Removal tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Eunan's Cathedral, with burial afterwards in Kiltyvogue Cemetery, Glenfin. Rosary will be held at 8 o'clock. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. tonight. The Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family flowers only. Donations, if desired, to the Irish Kidney Association, care of any family member or Marley funeral directors. The death has taken place of Gerard O'Connor, Hollymount, Carndonagh. Remains are reposing at the home of his brother Andy O'Connor, Hollymount, Carndonagh. Funeral leaving there tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Gerard's funeral mass can be viewed live at churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Charlie Doherty, Hella Clohan, Quigley's Point. His remains are reposing from his home. Removal there this morning at 10:15 a.m. to the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. Charlie's funeral mass can be viewed live at churchmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Bridget Traynor, ní McElroy, 256 Lisnara Road, Dunnamana, and formerly of Strabane. Remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving there this morning at 10:40 a.m. for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ohabrack, at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, before the funeral this morning. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the Donaghity Parish YouTube channel. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
After a long, hard day, treat yourself to something luxurious. Your drive home. The sleek new Nissan X-Trail has a dreamy, luxurious interior and is now available with e-Power, Nissan's unique hybrid driving system that lets you experience the pleasure of electric driving without the need to plug in. And it's available in 5 or 7 seats, so even the school run feels like a spa break. The all-new Nissan X-Trail with e-Power. Drive it to believe it. Book your test drive today at your local Nissan dealer. Nissan. Innovation that excites.
Welcome back to the second hour of the 9 till noon show on this Tuesday morning. It is the 6th of June and it is a Tuesday, which means that coming up very shortly will be our Community Garda slot, and Sergeant Charlene Anderson will be in studio with us very shortly. So that's coming up in about the next 6 or 7 minutes or so. Just a few of your comments before we go for a short break. What about the Miva Fire Brigade? They're on call, but they're voluntary and they don't get paid. So asks the caller. We spoke earlier about the retained firefighter firefighters dispute being coordinated by SIP2. Another caller said, good morning, Donal. It's quite simple. If these people want to work further afield, then don't be a firefighter. Most of these people wouldn't be able to carry a person out of a window anyway. How many jobs do these people want? Or should I say, how much money do these people want? They want their cake and eat it. Now, I think in fairness, it does need to be said, number one, this is the retained firefighter service. It's not a full-time job. These are people who are on call. And for that on call, they are paid a retainer 4 times a year. So 4 times a year, they get an amount of money, which is a retainer, i.e. it's compensation for the fact that they are on call on a 24/7 basis. That does not count toward a mortgage. That is not counted as a wage. So they are not paid a wage per se. They're paid a retainer to be on call. So they do need a second job to live and to pay their bills and so on. And the problem we have is because of the situation, a lot of people are saying, well, I can't be a firefighter because I need a job. And that's why we have a major retention and recruitment crisis. So you have a problem getting people to go in the first place, and then equally you have a problem after that getting people to stay once they've gone into the situation. So it's, I think in fairness, it's not as simple as saying, well, if you don't like the conditions, just don't take the job. It's not that simple. Other caller says the fire crews are employed by the Department of Defence via the civil service and administered by local county councils. Let's not forget these teams are paid handsomely to remain at home on call. Then they get €75 an hour for the first hour of the call out and €45 an hour after that. Certainly getting no support or sympathy from me, so says the caller. Another caller says, I'd like to ask your listeners, my phone goes off all day and comes on at night. Now, if that's a mobile, I don't know if there's something in the settings that the phone is suddenly activating. I have a major issue with my phone at the moment. For some reason, Audible starts without warning. And I do know what's causing it. I thought it was maybe I have a Fitbit that I thought the Bluetooth might have been setting it off when I was in the shower or something like that. So I got into the habit of switching off Bluetooth, but no, even with Bluetooth off, Audible suddenly randomly starts for no apparent reason, even when the phone is on standby. I had the interesting experience recently of I was listening to Equal Rights, which is a Terry Pratchett book, and I was in the theatre. I was involved in a show, and I walked in and one of the crew had my bag in their hand, and I said, what's wrong? And they said, look, this bag was over in the corner and there's some woman in it talking about cats. It was, Audible had started off and an excerpt from Terry Pratchett's Equal Rights was being broadcast from my bag because my phone had suddenly switched on for no apparent reason. We spoke to Owen Corrie earlier about the air situation. Good morning, Donal. We're a family of 4. We flew through Charles de Gaulle in Paris yesterday. It was a fantastic experience. The airport had faster lanes through security and passport control for families. We encountered numerous friendly staff. The place was spotless. They even had PlayStations and TVs set up at boarding gates, which our older child really enjoyed. I never usually like going through airports, but this was a very pleasant experience and very family friendly. And I absolutely am delighted that you had a good experience there. As I said to Owen during the course of our conversation, the last time I was actually in an airport, with the exception of meeting a family member at Donegal Airport, which is always a lovely airport to both be at and fly into and out of. But the last airport I actually went through to catch a flight was Schiphol in Amsterdam. Now, granted, it was the morning of the first Saturday of July last year, and it was horrendous. Now, it was right at that time when there was staff shortages at security desks and there was queues going out airport doors and down airport footpaths. It was awful, and I never want to experience something like that again. Had a lovely call from a man at a bank telling me that €4,000 was being used from my card for online shopping today. Naturally, I was very shocked. He asked me to get my card in my hand so he could help me. He could see I was shocked. I asked him what could I do. He said, read out the card number. I said I had a question. Of course I could ask him something, so when I asked him what hand should I hold the card in, he went very quiet. No answer, so I just hung up. I think he was going well until that. Again, a scam in itself, and there are so many of these scams going about. And the advice is, if you get a call like that, if they say they're from the bank, say, okay, I tell you what, you hang up and I'll ring the bank back, and that'll make it hopefully a bit better. Caller says, can you please put out a plea to all walkers and cyclists on our road at the moment? Please wear high-vis vests when out and about. I came across a cyclist this morning in dark green clothing, just blending in with the hedges. Saw him in the nick of time. When the sun is in your eyes, it can be very difficult to see. and that's a caller there, and that's a very good point. High vis can be important. Now, also, when the sun is in your eyes, it can be hard to see, and do please bear that in mind as well, that if you're looking at someone coming towards you and the sun is behind you, that means it can be straight in their eyes. Yeah, and it can be difficult. Caller says, good morning. The Agriculture Minister wants to reduce the herd in Ireland with a big deal done to import from Brazil. Same as the peat, close down all the bogs in Ireland, then import peat from Roma. Same happening with our children, exporting them and then importing staff from other countries. So says a caller. Now, I think in fairness, Charlie McConalogue, as I understand it, is fighting this the demand that you significantly reduce the dairy herd, and I think actually Charlie McConalogue is not necessarily giving his full backing to that. I do believe behind the scenes he's fighting that one. Now, it is 10:15. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll have the Garda information slot with Sergeant Charlene Anderson. But of course, before any of that, it's time for bingo numbers. So please grab your books, grab your pens, and let's go for it.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 6th of June. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 23. The numbers are 42, 6, 74, 29, 65, 72, 7, 53, 84, and finally 2. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight. Leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Oakfest, the family-friendly music festival, is back for 2 days, September the 9th and 10th at Oakfield Park. On Saturday, join the legendary Susie Quattro. The lineup also includes the Bay City Rollers, the Davy K Project, the Wailing Banshees, and local favourites Shearbuzz. Then on Sunday, there's Boys Life with Keith Duffy and Brian McFadden, Lisa McHugh, Honor, Rory and the Island, and more. Oakfest, Saturday the 9th and Sunday the 10th of September at Oakfield Park, Rufo. Tickets now on sale at oakfieldpark.com.
Tired of unwanted hair? L'Amour Beauty Skin and Laser Clinic, Shore Road, Ramelton is offering an exclusive June special. Free laser hair removal consultation, and when you buy 2 areas, you get a 3rd area for free. For more specials, visit L'Amour Beauty Skin and Laser Clinic on Facebook.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
And delighted to say we're joined in studio this morning by Sergeant Charlene Anderson. Charlene, good morning.
Good morning, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed. We actually, the two of us, got a chance to walk a bit together during Relay for Life at the weekend, and we had an absolutely great weekend, and it was great to see you and the Garda team down there.
Oh, thanks so much. I still have the blisters to prove it that I was there.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was at home yesterday and I was fit for absolutely nothing, to be honest. But that was a great weekend, and thanks to you and thanks to Grania and thanks to all the squad who came up from Garda Síochána. It was great to have you there. Now let's move on to the issues in hand, and sadly there are a number of crimes that you're seeking help with, and we begin with a very recent one early hours of this morning in Ballybofey.
That's correct, Donal. So Gardaí and Letterkenny are appealing for information in relation to a burglary that occurred in the early hours of this morning. That's Tuesday the 6th of June. Now, the burglary occurred at approximately 3:30am in the Blue Cedars area of Ballybofey. Now, a resident in the house in question disturbed an unknown man in their utility room, and he then fled the scene. Now, it's understood that he stole a black wallet containing a debit card and a driving licence and a set of keys from the property. Now, the car keys were later located on a roadway near the house. There was no damage caused to the property as the door had not been locked at the time. So we're just saying, should anybody come across the black wallet, if it was discarded maybe in the estate or in a garden or nearby, we're asking people not to touch it, but to contact Gardaí immediately. We'd also appeal to any road users that may have been in the area, and once again who may have dash cam footage, or indeed any residents who may have heard a disturbance in around 3:30am this morning in the Blue Cedars area, to contact Gardaí on 074 9167 100.
And again, in the early hours of this morning, attempted theft of a car at Gartmacall, Milford.
That's correct. So Gardaí in Milford are investigating this attempt, a theft of a car from Gorthmacall area in Milford in the early hours this morning. And this occurred at approximately 4 a.m. Now, the residents of a house at that location heard a car starting and stopping outside their home. Two youths then ran from the house. So the residents went to check their two cars, which were parked in the driveway, only to discover that both cars had been entered. An attempt had been made to drive one of the cars, and a small sum of money had been stolen from the other. Now, there was no damage caused to either of the cars, but again, these cars had been unlocked at the time this incident occurred. Now, the area in which the incident happened is on the Kilmacrennan Road, just a short distance from Milford. Again, we just appeal to any road users who may have dash cam footage or who may have been in the area at the time of the incident. And again, it's approximately 4 a.m. in the early hours of this morning. And we'd ask them just to contact Garda in Milford this time, Donal, on 9153060.
Moving now to Northern Ishowen and an incident at Ballyhillion Malin Head.
That's correct. So Gardaí in Buncrana this time are appealing for information in relation to an incident that occurred at Ballyhillion Malin Head, and that's near Bamba's Crown, on Saturday the 3rd of June at approximately 10:45 a.m. Now, a man and a woman reported that they were in the area when they met a man and a woman, two teenagers who had two dogs with them. Now, the woman alleges that she was assaulted by by a man from the group after having a brief discussion with them. And then they left the area on foot. So we're just appealing to anyone who may have observed this group of people or indeed observed the altercation to contact Gardaí. Or once again, if anyone was travelling in the area that morning, between 10:15 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. And again, dashcam footage is vital in a lot of these incidents. We'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540.
We're going back now to the Saturday before last. This is Saturday 27th of May in Lifford.
That's right. So Gardaí in Lifford this time are investigating an alleged assault on a teenage boy by a man at Murlog, Lifford on Saturday the 27th of May at approximately 8:30 p.m. A motorist who was passing at the time stopped and intervened. Now, the boy in question did not require medical attention at the scene, so we'd appeal to that motorist to contact Gardaí because we're hoping that he may be able to assist us with our inquiries, and we'd also appeal to anyone else who may have witnessed the incident to contact us. Or indeed, if anyone believes that they may have captured the incident on dashcam footage, or indeed have any information in relation to that particular incident, we'd ask them to contact us at Letterkenny. Or if they, don't want to contact the Garda station, they can always contact the Garda confidential line, Donal, and that's 1800 666 111, and that's open to everybody.
Something you don't hear of very often. I think this is the first time I've come across this. I think it's the theft of batteries from an electric fence.
Yeah, I have to say it's a first for me as well. So Gardaí are investigating the theft of 3 force-field electric fence batteries from a field at Ballylin Malin, and this occurred between 5 p.m. on Friday the 2nd of June and 8 a.m. on Saturday the 3rd of June. Now, the owner had placed the battery units on the fence along the roadside at 5 p.m. on Friday evening, only to discover they were stolen overnight. So we just appeal to anyone who might have come across similar items, perhaps they're for sale on a second-hand basis. We'd ask them to notify us if they do, or indeed anyone else that has any information in relation to the incident. We'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540.
And presumably that would be a very limited second-hand market. I mean, batteries for an electric fence, I mean, they're not going to be widespread on sale, so it could be a fairly small pool of people interested in those.
I would imagine so, Donal, now. But again, look, this is the first time that I've come across this. As we alluded to earlier, but I suppose the biggest thing, if someone's trying to sell them on second hand, and I suppose if somebody is looking to purchase something like this, perhaps if they do come across second hand items like this for sale, maybe just to notify us and we can follow it up.
Criminal damage now in Buncrana last week.
So Gardaí in Buncrana are investigating this criminal damage incident that occurred at Swilly View Apartments between 5 p.m. on Monday the 29th of May and 8 a.m. on Tuesday the 30th of May. A resident in that area had their car parked there between those times, and somebody caused substantial damage to it by keying it. So we just appeal to anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity in the area to contact Gardaí in Buncrana. And I understand, as I said, the damage was substantial. The vehicle was completely keyed all down one side. So not a nice thing to happen to anybody.
Absolutely not. To Lifford now, St Jude's Court, and an incident there the weekend before last as well.
That's correct. So this incident occurred between 9 p.m. on Saturday, the 27th of May, and 1 p.m. on Sunday, the 28th of May. So a downstairs window of a house was smashed between those times, and the house was vacant when the incident occurred. So we just appeal to anybody with any relevant information to contact Garda. And as you said, the incident occurred at St Jude's Court in Lifford on the 27th of May.
Back to North Innishowen again, and a road traffic collision this time on Sunday.
That's right. So this incident occurred on Sunday, the 4th of June, and it was shortly before 3:40 p.m. So Garda received a report in relation to a road traffic collision that had just occurred between a lorry and a number of cars. Now, the lorry, which was a Volvo 240, we understand, with the partial registration number of SB12, had just left the Culdaff beach area to travel in the direction of Culdaff when it allegedly made contact with a number of parked cars along the roadside. Now, the lorry driver did not remain at the scene, so we're just asking if anybody witnessed this particular incident to contact us, or indeed if anyone has dash cam footage. We'd like to be able to follow this up and get the matter resolved. They can contact Garda in Buncrana on 9320540.
Now, staying on the roads, and a number of arrests to report, sadly, on the roads of Donegal over the holiday weekend.
Sadly, it would appear that yet again the bank holiday road safety message was maybe ignored in some cases, Donal, but there was a number of arrests across Donegal over the course of the bank holiday weekend for offences relating to driving under the influence. So between Friday and Monday, there was 2 arrests for drug driving and 12 arrests for drink driving related offences. So once again, we just urge all road users to always act responsibly when it comes to road safety. If you take to the roads while under the influence, you're no doubt putting yourself and other road users in danger, and we'd ask people, in particularly young people, well, I suppose, look, everybody in general, but predominantly what we find young people, that not to get into a vehicle as a passenger if you think that the driver may be under the influence, or, you know, if you have any worries or anxieties in relation to somebody perhaps driving a car, don't get into the car with them. The Donegal rally is on the horizon, as we know, and it'll be happening in the coming weeks. And again, we'll be putting out a number of road safety messages leading up to the event. And we just urge everybody really to make road safety their top priority.
Now, if I had read my briefing notes, I'd have realised that we are about to talk about what we talked about at the very start. In terms of the weekend, it was a hugely busy weekend for yourself, and in fairness, Garda from Donegal were all over the place over the past couple of days.
We were. There was a lot of events going on. It was an extremely busy weekend across Donegal. Many social and sporting events taking place, Donal. But look, we're delighted to be able to assist in as many of these events as possible. And look, it's fantastic to engage with local communities, and particularly in the beautiful weather. We're grateful to everybody who supported us at the Relay for Life in Letterkenny over the weekend. And there was some fantastic support shown for Soca Garda. I think you might have been involved in that yourself.
There may be a picture of me. Yes, there may well be. Yes.
And look, it was a lovely family-friendly event. We're also grateful for anyone who came out and supported the other events that we were involved in, particularly Relay for Crumlin. I know we had a team in from Buncrana Garda Station. There was maybe 12 or 15 members that took part in that. There was also Inishowen Pride took place on Sunday. A huge turnout in Buncrana, and look, it is great to see it. And we're coming into this time of year. The weather is brilliant. People are out and about. There's a lot of events happening, and if anybody would like us to attend any events going forward, like I know we're asked to attend the Clonmany Festival, to set up a stand, absolutely make contact with the station. We can't guarantee that we will, but look, if you put in your request, we'll do our best to get there.
And it does have to be said that we on this slot do tend to highlight what went wrong, and we highlight the wrongdoing in our society, but it does need to be acknowledged that this weekend tens and tens of thousands of people in this county went out and just had the crack and behaved themselves, and everything was fine. And for the vast majority of people that were at those events and on the roads and out and about in Donegal over the weekend, it was nothing but good humour, good-natured banter, and the crack was had.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And for us as well, we love to take part in events like this and get out and get into the community and, speak to people. A lot of the times people, incidents that we're dealing with, we might, be dealing with offenders and different things, but this is a good opportunity. They're community events. They're happening all over Donegal. We love to be involved. And again, as I said earlier, if it's a thing that people do want maybe the guards to come and set up an information stand or be at an event, make contact. I can't guarantee it, but we'll do our best. And I just just want to say as well, I know we've read out a lot of incidents there this morning, and we're always seeking information. And just on a personal level, we're always appealing for information. And I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody that has come forward to date, and that has given us information, provided us with dash cam footage, and any nugget of information that we get. It's so important. It just could be the missing link that someone could provide to us that'll help us solve an investigation. So thank you on that. I just wanted to mention it at the end. So thank you to everybody who has provided information today. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Charlene, our pleasure. As always, Sergeant Charlene Anderson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Donal.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Holiday sunshine. Fly from Derry to Majorca this July or August with Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. Save up to 20% with rates not available elsewhere. Also exclusive discounts for parking. Call Atlantic Travel Letterkenny on 91 26193 or visit atlantictravel.ie.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
National Heritage Week returns from August 12th to 20th, and this year celebrates living heritage. Organise an event by exploring and sharing the traditions, crafts and skills passed down through generations in your family or community. Visit heritageweek.ie for more. National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council supported by the Local Authorities Heritage Officer Network and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's Donal Kavanagh with you on the show until 12 noon today. Now, it isn't very often that I get to chat with a fellow Waterford man on the show, but I get to do that now because I'm delighted to say we're joined on Zoom by the wonderful Mario Rosenstock. Mario, good morning.
Donal, I had no idea you were from Waterford, and I didn't detect the old black accent from you there.
You see, here's the thing about it, boy. You see, I left Waterford in 1990. No. Now, I grew up, I was living on the Dunmore Road in Glenville. That's where I lived. Now, you see, I had gotten a job in radio, so I had to sort of kill the accent, you know what I mean, boy?
How's it going, boy? You're two blackheads talking with each other on Highland Radio at the other side of the country, boy.
We're going to have a proper Waterford lunch. Hang black, can of Coke and a packet of potato.
Fantastic,
That is the
I feel
Waterford
at home
lunch,
already.
Oh, absolutely. Mario, it's a pleasure speaking to you. You're touring nationwide with Gift Grub Live 2023. You've got gigs coming up at Millennium Forum this coming Friday, actually. And on June 30th, the Mount Errigal in Letterkenny. Always good to see you up this part of the world. Good for you to be back on the road again.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've mainly performed when I've been in Donegal. I've mainly performed in the Clanree. And I remember the first time I performed in the Clanree, and I was advised, very, very carefully that it was the place that Daniel got married in, and you'd want to be quite respectful here now to Daniel. There's a lot of fans that are going to be coming to see you tonight. And I was extremely nervous, of the idea of taking the pee out of Daniel in his home territory. But he is loved so much that it actually even taking the mickey out of him seems to go down well up there. So, absolutely fantastic memories from Donegal down through the years, and we're going to try the Mount Errigal hotel now on the 30th of June, and also the Derry date, which is my first trip to Derry, because we did our first show in Belfast on Friday night. Again, hugely nerve-wracking experience, under the idea that you're kind of going, will people know what this stuff is?
I think they will. I certainly think they will. Well, Derry, they certainly will, because, I mean, you'll probably get half of Donegal will go to Derry. I mean, Inishowen gravitates towards Derry more than it gravitates toward Letterkenny anyway. But no, I suspect there'll be great gigs. I mean, I know more than most what it's like to work in radio studios, and I am well versed over many, many decades working in radio, being in a small room. I mean, I started on Shoreside Radio in Waterford, if you remember that. I started on Shoreside and I did a bit with WLR. And, I know what it is to do radio work in a room with a microphone and thinking to yourself, there could be a couple of thousand people listening to me, or there could be two dogs and a cat, and you never know. how big is it for you to get out of the studio? Because it must be lovely having done most of your work in a studio to actually get out and see the whites in people's eyes and hear the laughter and see the faces and see the joy.
People often ask me, what's your favorite bit to do? Is it radio? Is it live? Is it TV or whatever? And I would say that my favorite thing to do is live, because live is a composite of all the stuff that you've done on the radio, but brought to people right in front of them, so that you can see the reaction right in front of you. Like, the best reaction I remember ever receiving on radio is that idea that you get a text into the radio station and it goes, "Hey, I'm just driving through traffic, and I looked to the guy on my right-hand side in the car, and we laughed at exactly the same time." And that is a lovely feeling when you get that on the radio. But you can't see it and you can't hear it. When you're live, you can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it, and it's extraordinary. The thing is about radio, though, is you get a chance to try out characters, and you can feel which characters work before you bring them on stage. So in a sense, you get to trial stuff all the time. And so by the time you get them onto a stage, people may already be familiar with them and ready to engage with them and ready to have a blast with them. But so I would say live, you cannot beat the live experience. You just cannot. And this thing has been missing from Irish life as well for a couple of years. That sense of communal laughter, that sense of not only laughing live at something, but the sense of watching other people laughing live while you're laughing. And that whole idea of laughing together and being in the room together when we all laugh was something that we missed desperately for about 2 years.
And it must be
so
hard.
than music, even more so than live music. I mean, I think they said, even my promoter said, I said, what's really big coming back? And they went, comedy. People want to laugh.
Yeah.
They want to laugh. I mean, they were able to get a little bit of music, from online and from YouTube and from live streaming and everything. But you can't really reproduce that feeling of live laughter.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it must be hard too in a studio, because, I mean, how long does it take for you to know that a character is working or an arc is working? Because, I mean, you can come out with something and you put it out there and you'll work on it in the studio, and I know enough about editing in a studio to know exactly how much work goes into what you do. And I mean, if anyone thinks an episode of Gift Grub is sort of thrown together in 20 minutes, I suspect they're very, very wrong. I'm saying you're probably talking minimum 5 to 6 hours at a spot,
and
if
an
not
episode
more.
of Gift Grub generally lasts about 3.5 minutes. And that might be the result of thoughts I've had for the last few months at Gift Grub. It might be in my phone. And then I would take those little notes into the studio, and I would meet with Ian Dempsey and Charlie, our producer, and I would shoot those notes off them, very much like let's say a journalist would propose a feature to an editor, and I would run it by them, and I would say that we could do this, we could do this, we could do this, and then we'd have a chat about it, throw it around. Then I would go out and I would write it, and that would take me about 3.5 hours to write it, and I take the writing seriously. And then I go off and I produce it, and that takes another 2 hours maybe. And then I send all that stuff to a brilliant sound engineer called Paul Duffy. And Paul then uses his magic and puts all the sound effects and all that, and the bells and whistles, as we call them, on it. Yeah. Then he sends that back to me at about 5 o'clock in the evening. I listen back and I give him the thumbs up and I go, that's grand. So a Gift Grub sketch that lasts 3.5 minutes actually takes the guts of a day to produce, an entire day.
And how long does it take before you know it's...
And as to your question about how you know...
Yeah.
I mean, all we can do is trust ourselves as a comedian and as people who listen to radio. Ian, I always felt, is the most brilliant judge of an audience. And I mean, years ago, like, we had no social media, Donal. And when Gift Grub started in 1999, there was no social media. Not everybody had mobile phones. There was hardly any text messaging, no Instagram, no Facebook, no Twitter, no YouTube, no nothing. And the only way Ian would know something was going down is he'd go down to Tesco. He'd be down in Tesco, and a person might pass him and go, oh, I'm loving that Bertie in the morning. And, you know, somebody might say, I'm loving Bertie. And that's the only way that you could find out. Nowadays, you get immediate reaction on
Twitter and social media and so on.
Twitter. Yeah. So you can kind of gauge, and you become quite good at picking up people's vibes and all of that.
In terms of the reaction of the people that you're parodying, I remember listening years ago to the late great Dermot Morgan speaking about Jimmy McGee, and he said, Jimmy would be banging on the door of the office on a Friday, dying to hear what he was going to do on Saturday because he loved it so much and he couldn't wait. And, the more you took the pee out of Jimmy, the more Jimmy loved it. And I seem to remember a couple of years ago, you had Ronan Keating actually took part in a sketch, and Ronan was very sort of good at sort of playing along and playing up to the stereotypes as portrayed in Gift Grub himself. I mean, have you ever had anyone who's not been that kind of much into it and has been a little bit sniffy with you?
The whole spectrum, Donal, of experiences. I mean, you mentioned Ronan there. Ronan's a typical example. For years I was doing Ronan at the beginning, sorry, it's all that you can say, all that sort of stuff and everything. And he was only 22 or whatever. And he used to get a bit pissed off with me doing it. And until I think Keith Duffy kind of took him by the shoulders and sort of went, "Hell yeah, buddy. You're better on it than not on it, buddy, And I think Ronan then kind of grew to know that if you are on it, it's actually a compliment. And so then he fell in love with it. And even, I think he said later he got a boat or something. He bought a boat. And he called his boat Fair Play. Yeah. So that's like over-embracing. Then there are people who, sort of, politicians are interesting because politicians, believe it or not, they want to be on it. Because they are so interested in their own public relations that they feel being on something like this is better than not being on it. And I remember being approached by Michael Noonan once in a thing at the gig at the Burlington Hotel, and he called me over he beckoned me over with his finger, and I went over to his seat, and he just looked up and went, "Why don't you do me at all? You never do me on the radio. You're always doing your man birthday, and it's Roger the Dodger, and he's getting away with this, and he's getting away with that. Why don't you ever do me? You never do me." And so he was basically, in a sense, asking me to do him. Yeah. And it took me about 3 weeks to do him, and 3 weeks to figure out how to do him. I couldn't find a way into him. That's another story, of course. That's another day's chat. But so people ask to be on it, want to be on it, and are disappointed if they're not on it. And then there are other people like Michael Flatley, who, oh God, I think it was a very famous Donegal singer who told me. You can nearly work that out. Yes, a very famous Donegal singer told me, Daniel hates it, or sorry, Flatley hates it, and I went, no, I don't, and he went, oh, he hates it, and you see, that's an example of maybe Flatley. He would see his role as being a kind of, be Jesus, I'm an ambassador for Ireland, and I'm a great lad altogether, and shiver me shamrocks, and I'm doing a great job as an ambassador and flying the flag for Ireland, and why would this guy be the hokey, be taking the piss out of me and me doing such great jobs for Ireland? And so he wouldn't really, appreciate it, that, so. I mean, Daniel is great because Daniel pulls the rug from out under me all the time. I remember he was on Ray Darcy once on Today FM, and Ray said, right, so the elephant in the room, Daniel, I have to ask you, what do you think? What do I think of Rod Ray? What do you think of the Mario Rosenstock impression? Do you know, there's a great fella up in Donegal who does me, and he's a wonderful impressionist. I don't know the fella you're talking about now, Ray, but oh, yes, absolutely shade. Yeah. Shade from Daniel.
Oh, yeah. And I always said it about Daniel. I mean, Daniel is many, many things, but the one thing, don't ever underestimate that man's intelligence. He's one of the cleverest men I know. He's one of the most cleverest men I know. Oh, absolutely.
He's smart and shrewd, and he's a pro. And I mean, Daniel is an absolute legend up in Donegal. Oh, yeah, and everything he's done, for people and for the community up there, and how people revere him and everything. But never be under any misconception. Daniel is cute. Daniel is cute.
He's
and he protects the brand the whole time. Yeah. So he would go, I don't know who that fella you're talking about is, Ray, but can I just say that I've sold out the INEC in Gleneagles twice this week, so hopefully we'll see you all down there.
Of course, we have people like Pierce Doherty now who are sort of, trying to muscle their way in, and who knows what may happen in a couple of years' time now. We may hear him even more.
That's right, Pierce Doherty. I really enjoy doing Pierce. I see Pierce as kind of almost in the same vicinity, accent-wise or voice-wise, as Leo. So when I'm doing Leo, I kind of crystallize it a bit clearer like that. And he's always fighting with Pierce, and Pierce is kind of a little bit, Pierce is a little bit down, a bit more gravelly than Leo, and always, taking Leo to the cleaners, and holding Leo to account, whether it's the public accounts inquiry or any of that sort of stuff, But it's
only a matter of time, I suppose, before we see more of Pierce in the future,
Pierce is going to love that, actually, the fact that he's just a step down from Leo. I'm sure you've just made his day. You will love this, by the way.
Well, I never said I was a step down from Leo. And
or a step up, as the case may be.
No, sorry, Donal. Like, I actually take issue with you saying that. And there's a lot of voices up there that are kind of related to me. So you have Pierce Doherty, who's kind of a bit like that. But then you kind of the Eamon McCann, who, to paraphrase the great Donal from Waterford, would say that, Hot Press was a seminal, if you like, characterization of 80s Ireland going forward. And then you have Phil Coulter, who has this lovely kind of baritone voice. And Phil, of course, was present at every single important juncture in the history of man. I remember meeting a lad in 1968, I think it was, and in Arizona, and we had a coffee together. We looked up at the sky and this orb in the sky, and I said, "You should go there sometime." Next year, that man was Neil Armstrong. He set foot on the moon. He took my advice. And, of course, not that I'm taking, the credit for putting Neil Armstrong on the moon, but he did. He did have a little chat. And he, I said to him, perhaps if you go there, a couple of words, one small step for, I don't know. And if we use my words, well, it's fantastic. And credit to Neil,
well, fair play, Phil.
I did that joke in front of Phil once, and he had no problem with it at all. But it was the idea that, that Phil has seen everything, met everybody, done everything.
I hope you haven't blown your best bit for the Millennium Forum on Friday, though. That's the only thing.
I have so much material. They haven't even how I did. They haven't even heard how I perfected my Jerry Adams.
Mm-hmm.
I perfected my Jerry Adams from growing up on a farm in County Waterford.
Oh, lovely.
And we used to have 85 cows. And one of the cows was half tame, and she was called Val. And I remember when I was learning to do Jerry Adams was the first character I ever did on the radio. And I remember when I was learning to do my Jerry Adams, I remembered the cow in the field. And I remembered how I got the noise. And the noise was... That was the cow. And then I learned how to do Jerry, which was... How are you? Donal? How are you? It was very much the tone of the cow. The tone of the cow. Lent. Sorry about that. But that lent to my doing Jerry Adams, And my grandmother spoke very like that. And of course, that reminded me of somebody as well. And my grandmother used to always tell me that I'd be a great comedian and an actor. That I had floppy blonde hair and blue eyes, and I'd be like Ireland's Hugh Grant. And that, of course, lent itself to my Michael D. Higgins, of course. And I was delighted that I was able to tap into that voice, if you like, Donal.
And I mean that is uncanny, actually. It's and I'm sure you were doing Michael D. Welby. I do like that. I like that a lot because
that's wonderful. If you
I like it as someone who actually started reading Hot Press in about 1981.
Yes, I was a contributor to Hot Press.
Indeed, you were. Indeed, you were. Indeed.
And I remember attending Bob Dylan, of course, in the early 80s.
And then that photograph
still it was 1982.
Regularly. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, indeed. I think I actually met Michael D. the first time when he was...
Yes, I remember meeting you, Donal.
I'm sure you did.
Very well. You haven't changed a bit.
Well, thank you very much. You
years.
have. I think at this stage, Michael D., you've met everyone in the country at least twice, if not three times. Mario, I'm going to say goodbye, but before I do, a lovely piece of synchronicity that just happened. One of our future guests, as we were chatting earlier on, a little notice just appeared in front of me on my Zoom screen, and it just says, Ronan entered the waiting room.
Ronan
entered the waiting room. I doubt very much if it's the Ronan, but it's certainly a Ronan.
By the way, Donal, just one more thing for you. If anybody wants them, I found some batteries from an electric fence there yesterday, and if anybody, they all have my number. I found some batteries from an electric fence. Myself and Bajella are holding them at home.
Lovely.
And any more interest in Soca Garda? I'll be down tomorrow with a bucket, an old bucket to throw it over the old Gardaí. Great job they're doing.
And on that
I sold out Glen Eagles, by the way. And I'm selling out Mount Errigal on the 30th of June.
And Millennium Forum on this coming Friday. Mario Rosenstock, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Mario, take care. Bye. Good luck.
Cheers, bye. Good luck, bye.
Shop LK at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure Main Street, Letterkenny. All the kids are back playing football with longer days and shorter nights. Kids football boots from only €25, available in Velcro or lace. Check our new range of kids boots, shorts, socks and accessories. Visit our new club room with quarter zips, t-shirts and matching bottoms for your favourite local club. Click on Teamwear at bmcsports.ie for more details.
A huge warehouse sale starts at McGinley's Furniture Letterkenny this Wednesday the 7th of June at 10 a.m. with up to 70% off. Due to showroom expansion, all warehouse stock is clearing at massively discounted prices. It's first come, first served, and stock is limited, so don't miss the opportunity to grab a bargain this Wednesday from 10 for 3 days only at McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
The Reverend Jim Lamont presents an evening of music and song in Angrillan Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June at 8 p.m. with UP and Maria Doherty, Diane and Iona Holt, Diane Leckie, Andrea Long, Amy Meehan and the Regent Quartet. Tickets €15 on sale now from the theatre box office. Proceeds in aid of the Donegal Hospice. An evening of music, stories and a Donegal farewell at Angrillan Theatre, Letterkenny on Friday 9th of June.
And you are welcome back to the 9 till noon show. It's Donal with you on till 12 noon. Now, you may have heard on Highland and read in the papers recently that Letterkenny Community Childcare's facility will need to be vacated in the coming months because of a mica issue. They are currently renting that premises. They are looking to develop a new premises and buy it outright. I'm joined in studio by Geraldine Burke, who is the manager of Letterkenny Community Childcare Centre, and we're also joined on Zoom by Ronan Hilferty, who is the director of Ronhill Bread Distribution Limited, who is going to come into our story in just a moment. But first of all, Geraldine, we're going to go to you, and first briefly just outline the situation that you're in at the moment and why you find yourselves having to fundraise substantially.
Well, in 2019, the cracks that were in the building that we thought were settlement, we decided to get tested and it came back as 35% mica. So that was sort of 4 years ago now, and the cracks have gradually got worse. We have serious cracks internally, externally in the floors. One of the cracks is in a load-bearing wall, so it will have to come down. Our landlords have done remedial repairs and our lease is up in December, and we have been told we will be given 6 months lease at a time till we can vacate the premises, because it was structurally at the moment not too bad, but it is unsound, and it going forward we need to relocate, and we'd like to relocate in our catchment area.
And you've made it known you would like to buy a premises rather than rent again, and that's really what's at the root of this.
It is really, because we feel that if we can buy a site and build, that we will have loans for about 15 years. At the end of that time, the community will own the service outright.
And it is a community facility. This is not a private. Now, at the moment, it's the Enterprise Board, isn't it? Are the landlords at the moment?
It's Donegal Enterprise Fund, which are slightly separate, and we are a registered charity, not for profit. So we've been in that building for the last 20 years. We have been the only full day service that is community in the town of the size of Letterkenny.
Obviously, over the coming months, we're going to hear a lot about this fundraising drive, I suspect, and it's going to become part of the ongoing discussion. But the first of what will be, I suspect, a series of big events takes place on this coming Sunday, and it's linking in with the launch of the Wilton Recycling Donegal International Rally, and that's where Ronan Hilferty comes in. Ronan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we're in good form indeed, Ronan. Ronan, tell us about the event that's taking place on next Sunday, June 11th.
Well, this event is first of its kind in Donegal, and I think for any rally event, what we're having, it kind of breaks into two sections. You know, we have a family day from 2 to 5, which is free. For people to come along, see the rally cars. There'll be face painting, ice cream for the kids. music, and lots of crack. And then the second part of it is where we get the Stars of Irish Rallying. So a very unique opportunity. The Stars of Irish Rallying, past, present, and future. You're going to be on a panel in the discussion with your own Oisin Kelly. He'll be there, putting the drivers through their paces. Now, the big names involved, guys like Gary Jennings, recent winner of the Sperrins Rally. You have Callum Devine, one of the contenders for the Irish Tarmac Championship. Our own rally team, Ron Hill Rallying, our driver, Mark Alcorn, will be there on the day, doing very, very well this year. Kevin Eves, Jason McCarn, and lots of other guests to be announced. Keep your eye on the Ron Hill Rallying webpage. One of the favourites of Donegal Rallying will be putting his video up there shortly today. So just keep an eye out for that.
And the rally obviously takes place the following weekend, but there is a huge interest in the rally here in Donegal, and people will be sort of getting their heads into rally mode a few days beforehand. And what better to get your head into rally mode and start the preparations for what is for many the weekend of the year than by going to an event like this?
Yes, and this is all for charity. This is all for charity. And the great thing about this, you're going to get up very, very close and personal with the rally cars and the rally drivers. When the live event, when the rally is live, you'll not get as much access as you're going to get this weekend to the rally cars and to the rally drivers. Now, there is one car that's going to be there of significance to the people of Donegal and the people of Donegal Motorsport. And Manus Kelly's winning car will be there. And this is we have to thank Donna Kelly for allowing us to take this car down and have it on show. So, come down, support this. This is a very, very good cause. And it's very close to my heart because my own daughter is in that facility, and I know Geraldine and the staff well. They're stellar people, the work that they're doing, and to do it under such circumstances, I think it's, we have a duty of care here to the people of Letterkenny, to the people of Donegal, that we must support them in this endeavour. This is a facility for the people, by the people. Yeah. So, this is a very, very good cause.
And as you said, the late Mandy Kelly, the legend of Donegal rallying, Donal Mandy, his brother, of course, currently mayor of the Letterkenny Municipal District, and I've no doubt that Donal will be there, and Donal Senior will be there as well, and that the Kelly family will be supporting this.
Oh yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Now, for the tickets for the upstairs event, it's €25, and they're available on Eventbrite. So everybody, the tickets are selling fast, so get on. Make sure you don't miss this, because this is the first time that anything like this has happened. So get on, book the tickets, support a good cause.
Geraldine, back to yourself in terms of the ongoing issue. As we say, this is the first of what's going to be a number of events that are going to take place over many weeks and months. The community creche has a GoFundMe page up and running as well at the moment, and there's various initiatives. So this isn't, if people can't go to this, obviously they'll get their chance to donate online, or there will be more events coming up in the future as well.
That's correct, and we hope to plan most of them to be family orientated. We have a quiz on the 22nd of the 6th in Arena 7, and we have a family fun cinema day on the 2nd of July. In total, we have organised 15 events over the next 12 months. It's quite packed in, but we are on a very tight time scale, we believe.
So presumably you need to be in a position where you can have a deposit for a premises by the end of this year, ideally.
Correct, Donal.
Do you have a premises in mind, or are you looking at building on a greenfield site?
We're looking at building on a greenfield site, and we hope to do a site quite close to where our facility is at the moment. We've been through plans before, and we've a good idea of what we actually need to build. We hope to expand and triple our service, which is badly needed because there is very, very limited supply of childcare places in Letterkenny and surrounds.
And as you said, there is very much a timetable on this because of the MICA situation at the building you're in at the moment. So that's limited. So it isn't as though, well, we can just stay where we are for 2 or 3 years until we get sorted. There is a limit here, and you do need to be out for safety reasons. If for nothing else, you need to be out within the space of a year,
but
14 months.
Hope, but a year to 18 months at the maximum. And really, as you say, it's for the safety of the children, the safety of the staff.
And you're going to have to go through all the, getting a builder and all that. So there is a lot of work to be done and not much time in which to do it. We wish you well, Roland, with the event, and fair play to you and your colleagues for organising it. In the meantime, Geraldine, I've no doubt we'll be speaking again. I spoke to Michelle about this less than a fortnight ago. I've no doubt we'll be speaking again in the coming weeks and months. For the moment, thanks very much indeed, and we wish you well with the event.
And thanks, Ronan, as well.
Thank you, Ronan. So that's Geraldine and Ronan there. Ronan, you want a quick final word?
Thanks for having me on. I'd also like to thank the staff from Ron Hill Limited, because they make all this possible. They allow me to go off and do this kind of stuff. So a big shout out to them, guys. I appreciate their work. Okay, and Geraldine, best of luck. We're looking forward to pushing this event as hard as we can. Greg, thanks for your time.
Ronan and Geraldine, thank you both very much indeed.
Disney's The Lion King in Dublin. More to be seen than has ever been seen. Join Highland Radio on our trip on Thursday, 26th of October 2023 to see the award-winning Lion King the musical. Brought to you by Disney Theatrical Productions. Your trip includes luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin on a bed and breakfast basis, and your ticket to the show. All this for just €219 per person sharing. Call 074 91 25,000 to book. A non-refundable deposit of €100 per person will hold your place. Single supplement applies. To see Disney's The Lion King in Dublin.
If you're having a party, BizPrint can create invitations, banners, posters and photo frames for any occasion. Give your guests a fun way to create great memories with props and photo frames. Call BizPrint on 917795 or visit bizprint.ie.
Buncrana Music Festival, Friday 30th of June and Saturday 1st of July, featuring Scouting for Girls, Jake Bug, Hermitage Green, Pa Sheehy, Sive Skelly, The Midnight Preachers and Riva. Buncrana Music Festival, Friday 30th of June and Saturday 1st of July. Get your tickets now at buncranamusicfestival.com.
This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. It's 11 o'clock, time for news headlines, and we say good morning to Donna Marie Doherty.
Good morning, Donal. There were a number of arrests across Donegal over the course of the bank holiday weekend for driving offences. Between Friday and Monday, there were 2 arrests for the offence of drug driving, and there were a further 12 arrests for drink driving related offences. Garda urge all road users to act responsibly when it comes to road safety. A burglary took place in the Blue Cedars area of Ballybuffet at around 3:30 this morning. A resident encountered an unknown man in their utility room who then fled. A black wallet containing a debit card and driving licence was stolen, as well as a set of car keys, but they were later located in the vicinity. Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson is asking that should anyone come across the missing wallet, to not touch it and to contact Gardaí immediately. On-call firefighters have been staging industrial action since the early hours of this morning. SEPTU says local authorities have failed to address the recruitment and retention crisis in the brigade. Firefighters won't be attending training drills or testing their life-saving equipment, like breathing apparatus. Kevin McKenny, SEPTU organiser, says a meeting is taking place today to make a plan for Donegal's 15 stations for next week. The current stalemate over the stalled Stormont Parliament will be discussed in Washington today. The Sinn Féin leader in the North, Michelle O'Neill, will tell US politicians the DUP no longer has the mandate to prevent the Assembly from functioning. Her visit comes ahead of a similar trip to the US capital this week by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And attempts are underway to extradite a leading Irish crime figure arrested in Spain. Liam Byrne, whose brother David was the victim of the Regency Hotel murder in 2016, was detained while eating dinner with his family on the island of Mallorca on Sunday. He travelled there from Dubai, where he and other prominent members of the Kinahan cartel are now based. And finally, there are concerns the lack of rainfall may lead to water shortages. Ishka Éireann is advising everyone to conserve supplies as much as possible. Those are the latest headlines. We'll have more to come at 12 o'clock. An obituary notice this Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. The death has taken place of Jerry Collum, 5 Alch Aveen Mina Niller, Derry Beg, formerly from Ardsbeg, Gorta Hork. His remains will repose at Rorty's funeral home Derrybeg today from 12 noon until Rosary at 8 o'clock. Removal afterwards to the family home. House private tomorrow, please. The funeral mass is in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg on Thursday at 11 a.m, with burial afterwards in Knockfalla Cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed live on Kieran Rorty's funeral director's Facebook page. For more details, including any health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
$9.99 at another supermarket gets you a 46-pack of Pampers size 2 nappies. At Aldi, only $6.81 gets you a larger 60-pack of award-winning Mamiya premium size 2 nappies, plus nappy cream, baby wipes, nappy sacks, and baby lotion, with $3.18 left over. All from Aldi, Ireland's #1 own label nappy supermarket. You won't just like more value, you'll love it. Tesco price checked on tesco.ie 27/4/23. Tesco may sell equivalent own brand products at lower prices. Details at aldi.ie/swap. Exclusive offers, products and prices may vary.
4 minutes past 11. It's the third and final hour of the 9 till noon show, and we have a very, very important function to fulfill at this point, because Highland Radio is partnering with Comisiún na Man in launching a new podcast series dealing with topics of sustainability. It's Ours to Protect, a unique and exciting audio project. It's a collaboration of local and regional broadcasters from across the country. And the idea would be that there are national issues, but there are also local issues. And the idea is that in each local area, the local issues will be teased out and national issues will be discussed as well. Now, the whole thing is being coordinated by my colleague in the newsroom, Donal Marie Doherty. It seems really weird, actually, Donal Marie, that I am now going to interview you like as a guest on the show.
Oh, it is. I'm a bag of nerves, so I am, but I think it is just being on the other side.
And yes, in case you're wondering, yes, this is the same Donal Marie who read the news at 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 this morning. But Donal Marie, you're heading up this particular project. So first of all, tell us, Ours to Protect, what is it?
Ours to Protect is going to be a weekly 5-minute segment. It's going to happen at 12:30 every Tuesday. And it's to look at things that people can do every day to make their life a bit more sustainable. The idea is that there's only one planet. It is ours to protect. To be completely transparent, I'm learning as well as I go of things that I can do. We did have it's a quiz. It's kind of like a quiz that you can do, and it tells you how many planets it would take if everybody lived the way that you did. And I was absolutely mortified with myself. So I was. So we'll be talking with like an expert every week, and they'll let us know little tips and tricks, and it will all be available. There's a website, there's a page on our own website on Highland, and there's also the ourstoprotect.ie, and it's in conjunction with other local radio stations, so there'll be an absolute plethora of information for people.
Now, a man who is no stranger to the 12:30 on a Tuesday or any day slot on Highland Radio is a voice you'll hear often on Around the Northwest with John Breslin, and that's Angus Kennedy, who is a lead guide with Nature Northwest. Angus, good morning to you.
Donal, how are you doing? And hello, everybody. Hi.
Angus, important from your point of view as someone who keeps an eye on the ecosystem of Donegal, on the wildlife of Donegal, on the fauna, as it were, of Donegal, and the flora as well. This is an important issue. It's an issue that needs to be discussed.
It's a huge issue. Sustainability, climate change, biodiversity. We hear all these different big words, big topics, but really it's all about climate change. We're warming up the planet by burning fossil fuels, and biodiversity loss. We're losing a huge amount of the living things that are out there that we rely on. And the two issues are hand in glove. They're both tied in with each other. So get an opportunity to discuss it is just brilliant.
The other two guests we have in studio this morning for this launch panel are Suzanne Bogan, who's the Environmental Officer with Donegal County Council, and we'll get to you in a moment, Suzanne, and Jared McCormick, who's the co-chair of Tidy Towns in Letterkenny, and the name McCormick synonymous for many, many years with Tidy Towns in Letterkenny. And Jared, you're, I suppose, really the one who's at the coalface. You're the one literally keeping an eye on the streets and the environment around Letterkenny in particular every day, and taking action to make sure that it's improved.
Well, I would say I'm representing the people that do that. But yeah, we try and do that. And our competition that we enter is Tidy Towns. And people kind of think of it sometimes as a flowers and litter competition, and it's a lot bigger than that there. I mean, sustainability and biodiversity that Angus was talking about has a huge part to play in that. And a lot of our work has over the years transformed into that type of looking at sustainability plans and how we can do things better and how we can improve the planet and how we improve biodiversity as well. So those, as Inga said, they're hand in hand, and we do a lot of work in that field as well, or we try to do anyway.
And one of the things people would have noticed, particularly around Letterkenny in the past couple of weeks, if not months, is the appearance of signs in some areas with biodiversity area on them. And I know you're central in actually getting that signage up and making sure that there are areas. I know there was a no mow May idea in progress to say that, look, a nicely manicured lawn is all very well, but bees need access to flowers, bees need lawns, and we need to sort of sit back and think, are there things I can do on my front lawn that can help here?
That's right, and they've been very successful. And when I remember about 4 years ago having a discussion with some of the council officials, and they basically would have said at that stage, there's nobody talking about this. We don't know where you're coming from, but we're 4 years in further down the road, and we're very much talking about it. We're very much doing it. We're very much working with the council with that. And I think a big part of it, I think David Donal, our town gardener, has done it very well. What he's done, he's created kind of wavy borders between they're not just direct straight lines between the cut grass and the uncut grass, which is there for the biodiversity reasons. And I think the big part of it is, you need to communicate with the signs is a big help, and we get good feedback about it. We haven't really had any problems, and I think it's just it's another way. Once you train your mind to a different way of thinking, it's amazing. We just adapt to it and move on. It definitely 5 years ago that wouldn't have been in our town, and every year we're growing it every year.
And finally, Suzanne, and ask you to get right close up to that mic beside you there. Suzanne, in terms of your work, you're environmental officer with Donegal County Council. I'll be honest, over the years, and we've spoken on a number of occasions over the years in your professional role, I would always have said, Suzanne, oh yeah, she's waste management. But again, just like Jared said, it's way beyond just waste management. There's more to your job than that.
That's right. I suppose the focus is primarily around waste and educating people on recycling, composting, and today this week happens to be actually National Food Waste Recycling Week. So we're actually set up, if I can plug, we're set up at our recycling centres for the next 3 days. Letterkenny currently until 12 o'clock today, and then Dunlow from 2 to 4. And what we're doing there is actually promoting food waste recycling and tying in with our partners Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind, who are providing free compost as well, which has actually been made from recycled food waste. So I have a list of dates and times, and maybe before we finish up, if we can go through them, Donal, that'd be great.
We will, Suzanne, yeah.
But again, I suppose my role is focused around waste, but it does cover sort of the wider environmental issues, and we work closely with a lot of fantastic volunteers out in the local communities, around our beaches, in our towns and villages all over the county, and like that they're doing what they can to help make their environment better. Today is actually also the launch of Love This Place, Leave No Trace campaign, which will be a summer campaign, and we're partnering as a supporter as well of that campaign, and there'll be a huge focus on everybody just taking that little bit of responsibility to look after their environment over the course of the summer, now that we're in that time of year.
Let's go back to you, Donna Marie, and let's go back to that ecological footprint calculator. Now, I also want to say, and I will say this, and I will say this up front, I am quite sure that much as I would sort of regard myself as someone who recycles and someone who composts and someone who puts out the right bin at the right time on the right day, I quite possibly would do this survey, and I too, I am sure, will find myself lacking and find myself falling behind what I would have thought would be my score. So I think if you were somewhat surprised at your score, I suspect we may well all find ourselves in the same boat.
Absolutely. So you can go on, again, this is on our webpage. I completed the survey, and I'm going to do it halfway and at the end, and hopefully we'll get a bit of a better result. So if everybody lived their life like I do, it would take 5.7 Earths to sustain humanity. And I was absolutely mortified by this. So it takes into account like your travelling, things like recycling, but also your house type. How many people live there? Do you carpool? And one thing that kind of struck me whenever I was doing this footprint was it asked about how much you travel by plane or the hours, which whenever I kind of was thinking about sustainability myself and what I do as a person, never really thought about that much. So I was thinking, right, I went to Germany this year and I went to Amsterdam and I'm planning hopefully to go to Portugal, and it put me way up over the average. But again, it will give you a breakdown. My ecological footprint was 9.3 global hectares. My carbon footprint was 15 tons per year, and that made up 56% of my total of why it's going to take nearly 6 planets to sustain me if everyone lived that way.
Well, I will make a commitment. I will do the test today, and I will announce tomorrow what mine is.
Okay, well, it's open to everyone. It's there. It's on our website. We have also shared it onto our socials as well. You will be, but it asks you at the end, how do you feel about it? And I had all these like proud, and I was like, no, embarrassed, so embarrassed. But then it also gives you things that you can do to help kind of track that back and reverse it. So it's not like a point and blame and shame thing. Like, it is something that we all need to kind of have a look at, which is the purpose of this wee segment. So hopefully we'll
and Angus, I suspect most of us would find ourselves wanting, if we were to do a survey like that.
All of us in Ireland, or virtually everybody at least in Ireland. And it's a really important point that Donna Marie just made there. It's not a blame thing. Instead, it's an accepting of this is how it is. This is the reality. We're burning fossil fuels at a ferocious rate. We're heating up the planet, and there's all sorts of consequences for that. That's it. That's not your fault or my fault. It's the way our society's been set up. And especially in a place like Donegal, quite often these conversations, immediately people are saying, well, how am I supposed to heat my home? How am I supposed to get to work? We can't change this immediately, but we can start taking steps. And it's not about saying that this person is bad or that person's doing the wrong thing, but it's about accepting what we're doing is not sustainable. We can't keep doing what we're doing, and we have to start making changes. And it was interesting, I saw a change just as I pulled up here in my petrol car. I am getting to the studio. I saw an electric post van I'm dropping off, and I was chatting to the postman, and most of the fleet, he was saying, around Donegal is electric, and they're able to do it, they're able to manage it, and it's working for them. I was in Glenveigh National Park there recently. Their buses are electric. They don't need to charge them every night, despite the fact they're going up and down to the castle flat out all day. At this time of year, they're going off doing school trips and picking up school groups and whatnot. It's a wonderful service. But those changes are coming, and they're coming little by little. We won't change it all by tomorrow, but it's really important we inform ourselves that it's the inevitable.
Jared, Tip O'Neill was the politician who came up with that great phrase that the secret of politics was to think globally and act locally. And if ever there was something that phrase maybe was designed for, it's for our reaction to this very topic.
I think so. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I was driving up here myself and trying to think about how it's such a broad, sustainability is so broad. I mean, you could talk for hours and not cover everything, but we've had an idea in our committee that we're trying to launch. We have launched it, but we want to do a lot more about it, and it's called The Power of One. And it's, as a community, as Angus says, some of the things that we don't have control over, but there are things that we ourselves have control over, ourselves personally, and that's the idea of Power of One. What can as an individual, what can you do in your life to improve it? And if enough people collectively do that, you can make a change. And I do think that it's a lot more lately. This idea of sustainability and what we do with our planet there's a lot more debate about it than there was a few years ago. I think that's a very, very good thing. I don't think it's a thing you solve overnight, but I think the more debate about it, the more people will think about what they can do and the small changes they make, and they all add up. And I think that's the way to go about it. Otherwise, I don't know how you go about it. To me,
And I
that's
think about the
way.
power of one, though, is a lot of people, and this is an argument you hear time and again. And I will be honest, I've maybe in my own head used this to justify the fact that I'm going on holiday this year on a cruise ship. Yeah. And I know, and there's a voice in the back of my mind going, and I'm thinking, yeah, but there's coal power stations in China that will create more environmental damage in 5 minutes than I will do in my lifetime. And that's kind of like my almost, I won't say justification, but that's the little voice in the back of my head going, no, it's okay, because I mean, the problem isn't me. The problem is a big, huge coal-powered factory in China. The problem is a big, huge dam in India. The problem is over there. It's in Russia, it's in China, it's in India. It's not little old me. Yeah. And I think a lot of us have that little voice in the backs of our heads, and it's, let's be honest, it's a liar.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the challenge we all have.
Yeah, if I can come in there, and there's a great phrase in the North, and you hear them trying to trash out their politics in the North over the last year or two in particular, and there's a great phrase, whataboutery. And somebody says, well, you lot did this, and they go, well, you lot did this. And that's what we're doing if we're blaming other countries. It's just whataboutery. We're the second highest emitters of carbon in all of Europe. And Europe, of course, is developed countries, so we emit a huge amount of carbon. And currently the world, with the changing climate, and we can see those changes going on, we can even feel them in Ireland, but we can see them especially around the rest of the world is around about 1.2 degrees warmer than my granddad's time. 1.2 degrees warmer. We've done that. We've heated up planet Earth. If everybody lived like Irish people, if everybody lived like Donna Maria and me and the rest of us and everybody listening here, the world would be 4 degrees warmer. Because that's how much more polluting we are than so many people. So we need to look after our own house. That's really, really important. But as Jared was saying there, we need to get the message. You do what you can personally, but we still have to live. But the more we can talk about it, the more we can discuss it, the braver our politicians are going to get. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones that are going to make the biggest changes and guide us, like things like that, electric fleet for on post and so on.
And Suzanne, you're one of the people who's at the point where services you're in charge of providing at a local level gives people the opportunity to go to a recycling centre, to actually avail of the services that are on our doorstep. And even if everyone did that, it would be a start.
Absolutely. And I mean, it can be a little overwhelming when we think about everything that's going on. But I think it's really important that we do bring it back to what we can all do, as Jared said, the power of one, because it makes it more manageable for everybody to have an impact. And if you have the services provided, the majority of people will come along with you and use them, you know. So the council own a number of recycling centres across the county operated by Bryson. A very wide range of materials can be brought there for recycling. Next week, actually, we're having half price bulky goods promotions for 2 weeks, so keep an eye out on our social pages and the press for that. And again, just trying to ensure people manage their waste responsibly, use the recycling services of their local waste collectors, and in particular this week, Food Waste Recycling Week. They're taking part in a food waste collection provided by your waste collector is the first step, and then that material is actually getting treated industrially and made into a compost again that we can use. So the circularity there, and keeping, I suppose, when it comes to waste, and I probably talk a little bit more about waste than other areas, but you know, we sort of have, we've taken it, we've used it, and we've gotten rid of it for a lot of years, and we're trying to get that whole area of circular into our vocabulary now as well, and into our actions, so that we're keeping what we have in use as much as we possibly can. So whether it's about thinking about getting something fixed or repaired, or reusing something again, and then recycling what we can as well, that's so important, so that we're not having stuff to get rid of at the end of it, that we're trying to use as much as we can. And that could be as simple as, donating clothes to your local charity shop. That's so important as well. That's simple action that every household in Donegal can do, and that has such a positive impact as well. Getting something repaired rather than going out and getting something brand new again. Recycling all of those electronics, white goods that we have in our homes as well, and making sure that we do the right thing with them. There's so many very manageable actions that everybody can take, even if it's visiting your local beach and you mightn't have the time to do a clean up, but if you see a 3 pieces of plastic, just pick up those 3 pieces of plastic and pop them into the bin. And all those small actions have a huge positive impact.
Well, I have said this on the programme before, and I'll say it again. I know a gentleman who happens to be the chair of a Tidy Towns competition. I'm out walking most mornings, and I very often bump into him, and inevitably I bump into him as he's walking back to his house, and he's got 3 or 4 pieces of litter in his hand that he's picked up off the street. And that is it in action. And I've said it before, Jared, and I've said it before, fair play to you, because you are actually doing what you're asking everybody else to do. And, it is the truth. Most mornings I see you've got 3 or 4 pieces of litter in your hand that you've picked up.
My wife says I know every bin in the town.
Well, I have no doubt. But that is, and that's really, as we said, you think globally, you act locally. That's bringing it right down. And it does need to be said. And maybe all of us could pick something up and put it in a bin, or do something as simple as that. And if we all do something as simple as that, it is. And I know, Jerry, we were speaking about the pollinator programme that the Tidy Towns is supporting here in Letterkenny in particular. But I know too, Suzanne, that the council is involved in pollinator programmes around the county, and certainly in the show in Buncrana, I know Buncrana Carn, there's a very strong pollinator sort of campaign working up there as well. And I'm sure you want to see that spread right across the county.
That's right, and it is linking with our local communities across the county as well. There's so many proactive community groups and Tidy Towns groups and schools. We just recently had our Green Schools Awards here, where we had 40 schools being recognised for their achievements in environmental issues, from litter and waste right across the board to biodiversity, travel, caring for our marine environment. So those communities and schools are very, very active, and where we can, the council will support them as best as they can.
Donal, going back to yourself and the actual podcast and the content. Yes. I mean, obviously it's going to be, as you say, every Thursday or every Tuesday, Donal, Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 12:30 during the 9 till noon show. Obviously you've got 3 great guests right here, but there's going to be a lot more people on, both locally and nationally as well. Give us a flavour of what we can expect in the coming weeks.
Well, we're going to be looking at things like fast fashion. Starting off next week, we have Miranda Rosenberg, and she runs the TikTok called Homestead Donegal, and she has 500,000 followers on there, and she goes through she just shows her daily life of what she does and what we can do. We're going to look at the purpose is to look at real simple things on how people can get a start on their own journey. One thing that I would like to say is that there's like a pitfall almost whenever people think, right, okay, I'm going to do this now, I'm going to live sustainably, and they go and they clear the house, they red the house, they say, great, that's not sustainable, getting rid of that there, and they'll go out and buy their bamboo cutlery, their bamboo lunch boxes, this, that and the other, and it's a whole lot of the time it's like that's not the first step to take. It's like it's greenwashed, like you're greenwashing, thinking this is how I'm going to start this. It doesn't have to be a costly thing. If anything, if you do make the decision to move to a more sustainable lifestyle, you'll save a lot of money. So we'll be talking about things like that there, especially with the cost of living crisis. I'm as presenting this here anyway, what I'm bearing in mind is not only can people live more sustainable, but how will it benefit you in other ways of your life? Because it has to be something that you can take home, think about it and apply it. It has to be simple things that you can do. So we'll have lots of little tips and tricks. Will be the thing.
Excellent. A few questions. Well, there's one question in particular I'm going to put to the panel because I'm stumped, and we spoke about pollination programs earlier. There's one caller wants to get right to the heart of it. Someone asking, where can I purchase beehives? Someone wants to get into beekeeping. Angus, this might be one for yourself.
Yeah, beekeeping is certainly growing in popularity. It's huge. So have a look. Google Donegal Beekeeping Association or the National Beekeeping Associations, of which there are many regional ones. There's the national one, and they'll be able to point you in the direction of a beehive and how to start off that journey, because you need a bit of training. You need to know what you're doing. But crucially, I would say sometimes people think I need to get or I want to get honeybees and I want to do my bit for pollination. What are the honeybees going to eat? So before you even do that, go off to the nursery or start looking around your own garden today and start thinking, well, where would the bees go? What are they going to eat? Are you relying on neighbours having enough food? And it's not just the honeybee. We've one species of honeybee in Ireland. We've over 100 species of wild bees, bumblebees. bumblebees or solitary bees, and they all need the same thing, and they all pollinate our crops. So the most important thing is getting the food sources in them, making sure you've plenty of colour in the garden.
So it is an ecosystem, and you have to understand the ecosystem before you introduce another factor into that ecosystem.
Yeah, just say you wouldn't buy a herd of cattle if you didn't have fields to put them in, and it's the same kind of thing. People sometimes rush into that, and tying into the no mow May, and we should be all trying to leave little patches, little wild areas in our garden, and it doesn't mean you have to rewild or walk away or abandon the land, but if each and every one of us left a patch, a bumblebee, for instance, will fly for about 500 metres before it'll collapse out of hunger. So we all need to have little patches of wildflowers for those bees, for the honeybees that we might keep, or for the wild bees that are there.
Caller asking what's the website for the test. Donna Marie, they can access through our own website, highlandradio.com.
Yeah, if you go on to our website, highlandradio.com, there will be the It's Ours to Protect section on there. Alternatively, you can go it's ours to protect.ie, and it will also have the link there, and it's called the Sustainability Eco Footprint Digital Footprint Survey.
And just to note, there's an environmental musical on this Saturday in Buncrana. Free admission, and that's part of Cruinniú Nog. And if you wish to go to that, you are absolutely welcome. Now, just before we wrap up, Suzanne, did you say you had one or two things you wanted to mention before we go?
If I could, just to mention, we're having free compost giveaways and food waste recycling starter packs. We're distributing those across the recycling centres over the next number of days. So Letterkenny, another half an hour or so, and we'll be finishing up in Letterkenny Recycling Centre. Then moving on to Dunloe this afternoon from 2 to 4. Tomorrow, 7th of June, Carndonna, 10 to 12. Milford Recycling Centre, 2 to 4, and these are at all the Brighton Recycling Centres. And then finally on Thursday the 8th of June, Lahey Recycling Centre from 10:30 to 12:30, and then finally Stranorla Recycling Centre from 2 to 4. So just to promote using your food waste, using your waste collection service for food waste, and then actually getting yourself a bag of compost generated from food waste as well.
Thank you indeed, Suzanne. Jared, the work of the Tidy Towns Committee continuing in Letterkenny, and I suppose no help ever turned away?
No help ever turned away, no. So we have, we're always looking for volunteers. A couple of volunteers are working hard in Donal today as I was driving past, planting there, and this is our really busy period, and there's a lot of work happening on the ground, and actually it's a great opportunity for me to thank all the volunteers, because without them we would be lost. So.
And Angus, you're, as we said, a regular guest with John on Around the Northwest, and no doubt you'll be taking the opportunity as we go ahead to remind people at every juncture of the potential we have to help our environment, to help our ecosystems, and ensure that, that again, going back to that sort of acting locally while thinking globally, that there is a lot we can do, and we can do it in our own areas.
There's a huge amount we can do as individuals, and there's a huge amount of it's very pleasurable. A huge amount of looking after your garden, especially when the weather's like this, is a fantastic thing to do, and improving our own towns, getting involved with Tidy Towns groups, getting involved with other community groups is a social and a wonderful thing to do as well. But crucially and really importantly, I think, is us as individuals won't solve it all on our own. We can all do our bit, but by doing our bit, we're raising awareness. Tell our politicians. Some of our politicians have got it. Some of our politicians still don't seem to have got this message. Sometimes it's left to some small parties, and we think that's a special remit for them. It's not. It's each and every one of us, and they're the ones that can really steer our change. There's a new plastic bottle recycling scheme is going to be coming in soon, for instance. These are the kind of system changes that we can't do, and hopefully Tidy Towns groups won't have to pick up as many plastic bottles when that comes in. But tell your politicians, tell them that this is an important issue. It's just as important as the other more the kind of the immediate issues that we hear about on the news.
Jared, Angus, Suzanne, thank you, all three of you, very much indeed. And Donna Marie, all the best with the podcast, and the first episode can be heard
at 12:30 on Tuesday coming this day week here on Highland Radio, and then it will also be for playback on the website.
Thank you all very much indeed.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is a guaranteed €17 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at Big East Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's chemist, Letterkenny.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love. 2. Great special offers like Super Value Fresh Irish Tomahawk and Ribeye Steak save 33%. Heineken 12-pack bottles only €15. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. So follow the 1, 2, 3 and save money at Super Value. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Welcome to the Spa at Orchids, one of Europe's largest spas at the Holyrood Hotel, Bundoran. Discover tranquility in our Japanese-themed garden, boasting 7 treatment rooms, seaweed baths, and a secret garden with an outside hot tub and sauna. Now, let me take you to the heart of Bundoran, where you'll find the Holyrood Hotel Spa and Leisure Centre. Don't miss out on our exclusive midweek hotel specials. More information at holyroodhotel.com.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It is 26 minutes to 12 noon.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife?
Huh?
Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
Holiday sunshine. Fly from Derry to Mallorca this July or August with Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. Save up to 20% with rates not available elsewhere. Also exclusive discounts for parking. Call Atlantic Travel Letterkenny on 91 26193 or visit atlantictravel.ie.
Itchy eyes, running nose, wheezy and mean hay fever is back on the attack. As pharmacists, Brennan's have a wide range of allergy remedies to come to your rescue. And we can advise you on how to lessen those hay fever attacks. So come in for a chat and we can talk through your options. In private if you like. You'll be back to enjoying summer in no time. For expert hay fever advice you can trust without the wait, we're always here for you. Just ask at your local Brennan's pharmacy.
Don't miss the Kerrykill Vintage Rally this Saturday, 10th of June. Enjoy a great display of stationary engines, cars and tractors. There's also trade stalls, crafts and demonstrations, live music and children's amusements. That's the Kerrykill Vintage Rally at the church grounds this Saturday from 12 noon. This ad is sponsored by Wiriski's Eurospar and Ice Cream Parlour, Ramelton.
Charles Bunner & Sons Ballybuffet are the leading suppliers of solid fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, bringing warmth and comfort to homes in Donegal and beyond for nearly 50 years. So visit our showrooms in Ballybuffet or call us on 074 9131 700 or online at thestovestore.ie for more details.
And just to remind you that Ours to Protect, which is looking at issues of sustainability, will begin on Highland Radio on this day week. Tuesday, it's the 13th of June, and it'll be on at 12:30.
Ours to Protect is brought to you by Highland Radio, the IBA, and funded by Commission Amman with a television licence fee. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more info.
Now, before we go any further, a few quick comments. Caller says, China causes more pollution in one day than we do in a month. Not a word about it. It's the planet evolving just a bit quicker, so says a caller. Another caller says, windmills all over the place. Electricity is more expensive. Now, we spoke earlier to Geraldine from the community creche, and caller says, my heart breaks for the people who need the community creche and the families who use it. But how are the people of Donegal going to fund the hundreds of creches, schools, clubs and the community centres affected with mica and other defective blocks? It's a really worrying thing. It needs to be highlighted and talked about honestly by government, and they need to get pressure put on them by the management of these facilities. That's an interesting point. Caller says, could you please wish my parents, Ronald, Marlene Crawford, a very happy 50th anniversary today. Love from all of us. We spoke earlier to Tony Tony and Sean about the Dunfanny Golf Club Challenge. Wishing Tony all the best of luck. That's from Liam Lynch in Buncrana. And to Tony McGilloway and all at Dunfanny Golf Club, good luck with the event, and that's from all in Dunloe Community Hospital. Now, we are joined in studio by two special guests. I have Martin McDermott, who's Assistant Community Development Manager at DLDC, and also Dr. Jim McMee, who is a community volunteer with Miva Day Centre. Gentlemen, you are both very welcome indeed. DLDC is starting a campaign to highlight the need for community volunteers for daycare centres across Donegal. And going to Dr. Dermot first, who is a community volunteer with the Day Centre in Miva. Dermot, this is very important work.
It is really, because we're providing day services for older people in the community, and it's provided by the community itself. It's a very local service. And basically, older people who otherwise... it gives them an opportunity to meet up with friends from their younger days and make new friends, have a meal together, have some entertainment, some educational and physical activities. And it's great for the physical and mental health, and it's also great for giving jobs in the area.
And I'm sure too, from the point of view of the volunteers who go in there, they get to know the people there on a day-to-day basis, and I'm sure relationships form, and it becomes a very important part of the lives of the people who are in there. Some of those people perhaps don't have families at home. For some of those people, it may be the main social interaction they have over the course of a day, and from that point of view, it's a hugely important thing to them.
It's very important to them. Yes, it keeps them grounded in their community, and also it spreads information about the community throughout the place. People exchange news and views. It keeps them in contact, and it's just great for mental health and well-being. And it's great for the people who volunteer and help there, and they give something back to the community.
Martin, as the Assistant Community Development Manager at DLDC, obviously you're looking at coordinating this across the county. This is hugely important work, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, extremely important, because like we lead up a network for the care of the aged committees in our area, and it became very evident that a lot of the public don't know that the day centres are run by volunteers, and that is a voluntary committee that are involved in overseeing that whole governance and operation. So what we identified was the need for this recruitment drive for volunteers, because some care of the aged committees and the day centres, there's ones there that are they're quite complementary with the number of committee members they have, but there's others that are struggling, and it's the theme of this has been part of your continuation of the community story, in that you can play a role and be part of that. And so it's really important for us to make a kind of like a whole kind of regional campaign for this. And what'll happen then is that hopefully with a good positive response, we will be able to filter through where the requests for volunteers are coming from, and then be able to place them accordingly into those committees that need extra support.
And the idea you have is that these voluntary committee members will actually play a part in the hiring of staff, the running of the centre. So you're looking at people that might have maybe expertise in law, accountancy, management, that sort of area. We're looking for people really who will donate these skills on a voluntary basis to actually help run the centres and ensure they run to their best efficiency.
Yeah, and it's not like, we're not defining, like there are some examples of some of the skills that would be needed, but committees are a group of people, so you may have one particular skill and Dermot has another and I have another, so when you come together, you're able to collectively have a good set of skills between everybody to be able to run the centre efficiently. And then what we do then as DLDC, we do provide that additional support in terms of governance and compliance if you're reporting to charities, regulator and so on. So that, there's equally there's the committee people themselves and the skills that they bring, but it's not to be like, don't be put off if you're not skilled in IT or HR or whatever. Like, we're open and welcome to any offers of volunteer interest.
And Jim, from the point of view of what Martin is saying there, as someone who yourself sits on a committee, I mean, that is a committee has got to have that diversity of skills, and a well-run centre is a centre that's going to have people running it who know what they're doing, and most importantly have a situation where you have your skill and you can put that to best use. I may have a different skill, I can put that to best use, and if you have a group of people each working together at their best efficiency, that's going to mean the centre is going to run at its best efficiency, and a well-run centre is a centre that's going to provide the best possible service to those who are using it. And ultimately, that's what you're there for, to make sure that the people coming into these centres are given the best service possible.
That's right. You want something where you're running the centre to a high standard. We really need people on the committee who live in the area and always contributed to it. We don't want to lose sight of that. But there would be people living in the community who have the particular skills we need in HR, finance, law, etc., who might want to give something back to the community they live in to maintain it. There might be somebody listening now who has a mother or a father who attends the day centre, but they might have a son, a daughter or a partner who works in an office, and they might make a wee suggestion to them this evening: why don't you volunteer to help out this day centre in your area? Or you might be somebody with a skill who's moved to that area, wants to contribute to the community. And again, this is a good way, an opportunity of contributing to the community that you now live and work in.
And Martin, the centres may be voluntary, they may be run on a voluntary basis, they may be staffed by people who are there as volunteers, but they're still subject to regulation, they are subject to insurance, they are subject to all the checks and balances that any centre offering services of a caring nature are going to be subjected to. And just because it's voluntary doesn't mean it's immune from any of the bureaucracy.
Yeah, and that's right. And as we were saying earlier, there might be this view that the day centres are run by the HSE, or they're operated or managed by that. We have day centres that might be run in a private capacity. Some are funded. There's a different kind of level for each one. But ultimately, everyone is trying to provide a good service to the older people in their community. And yes, you're correct. There are a lot of reports to do. There's a lot of compliance that you have to fulfil. And that's not to put off people by volunteering, because when you share this workload out, that's only maybe one element of it. And where you have more people, rather than it's just maybe 2 or 3 on a committee, so where you have more people on the committee, and then alongside with the support that we provide in the governance capacity to the committee members, eventually then everyone plays their part in it. There's great teamwork and camaraderie, and as we were saying earlier, it's great to have that reward then to say that I've helped and I've played my part. And just as an example, as Jeremy was saying, there could be grandchildren of people using the day centre. There's young adults out there that maybe have a variety of skills, and even if it is only 1 hour a week, or as we say in the advertisement and the campaign that we're doing, is up to 4 hours a month to attend maybe a committee meeting. And it's not a lot of time, but if you do have that time, then please try and give it in. And it's where even having any particular skill at all will be able to help and play your part.
Martin, thanks very much indeed. Jimmy, I want to give the final word to yourself, Dr. Jimmy, me, as a committee volunteer with the day centre in Meath. I mean, these centres operate and survive and persevere because of the people behind them, and this is very much a people-centred enterprise.
It is really. There are volunteers helping out in the day centre, helping to bring people to the centre, working with them there. There are volunteers who actually run it and manage it, because you are managing a small enterprise, and you're actually giving everything back to the community. All the money that comes into the day centre goes back to the community, so you are supporting it, and you're just helping the community to grow, to survive, and you get a great feeling of having made a major contribution. And it's 3 or 4 hours of a month where you can put your skills and knowledge to use in a regulated and correct way, but with less pressure than you'd have in a work environment. There's a fantastic sense of satisfaction, fantastic sense of cooperation, and you can see immediate results in the happiness and smiles of the people attending the day centre.
And in a very real way, in most cases, the people attending that centre have built and sustained that community for decades, and maybe now it's the community's turn to sustain them.
Yes, and that's really how it works. We're all in it together. We're one big family. We're all friends and neighbours. Donegal's a fantastic place to live in because you do have a strong community spirit here. You mightn't have in other places. Day centres are an important part of that.
Martin, the nuts and bolts of if someone out there is interested in helping themselves or perhaps cajoling their relatives to help, as was suggested, how can people get in touch? What do they need to do in order to register that interest?
Yeah, so they can give us a call to the LDC main office here in Letterkenny. So they can give us a call. That number is 07491 27056, and that inquiry then will be passed on to ourselves at the community development team, and then there'd be a process involved then, Donal, such as like where you are and where the day centres are and so on. Obviously your listenership spans a massive geographical area, and so does our day centre network, so it's trying to match that when we get all those inquiries coming in after this today.
And finally, something of a busy day for DLDC today?
Yes, we do. We have the Minister arriving later on this evening, and which we're delighted with, so and we'll see you there too, hopefully.
Yep, I'll put my news hat back on again this evening, I think, and go down and cover that one. In the meantime, Martin McDevitt, the Assistant Community Development Manager at DLDC, and Dr. Jim May, a community volunteer with Miva Day Centre. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Clonmoney Agricultural Show Monster Draw, €100,000 in prizes. First prize a Valtra Tractor A105 High Tech or a Skoda Kodiaq car. Second prize a Skoda Fabia car or €10,000 plus 8 other cash prizes. Tickets now available online at clonmoneyshow.com or from any committee member. This would make an ideal Father's Day gift.
It's easy to feel trapped when you're dealing with mortgage arrears. The worry, sleepless nights, the impact on you and your family. But there is a way out.
Welcome. Come on in.
At Awalia, our door is always open. We're here to help and ready to listen. Get free, confidential support and practical advice to help you take control of the situation by visiting mabs.ie/Awalia. That's mabs.ie/Awalia, an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Breedon's Furniture, Cooley Maville. With over 40 years of experience in furniture and floor coverings, they've got Irish-made furniture, suites, beds, mattresses, dining, flooring, slide robes and occasional furniture. Great prices and large selection now available at Breedon's Home Furnishers, Cooley Maville.
For great value in suits, visit Watson Menswear in Letterkenny. Top labels like Rimazumo, White Label, Spectre and Daniel Graham. For the finishing touch, there's also a great choice of shirts, ties and footwear. Extra reductions for all wedding parties. At Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street, Letterkenny. See watsonmenswear.com.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25.
And you're welcome back to the final segment of the 9 till noon show for this Tuesday morning. We're going to go back to the issues of sustainability and solidarity. We spoke earlier to Donna Marie about the Ours to Protect podcast, which will run on Highland Radio from next week. And we also have a event coming up on this coming Friday, June 9th. It's the annual Changemakers Donegal Seminar, and sustainability and solidarity will be to the fore of that discussion. So delighted to say we're joined on Zoom by Myra McAuliffe, the coordinator of Changemakers, and in a moment we'll be speaking to David O'Hare, who is a communications officer and internal communications specialist with Trócaire. So we're going to go to Myra, who's joining us on Zoom. Myra, very good morning to you.
Hello, how are you?
Very well indeed, thanks. Myra, first of all, this seminar that's coming up at the Station House in Letterkenny on Friday. Tell us about the seminar and what issues are going to be discussed.
Yes, thank you. So our seminar theme for this year is sustainability and solidarity. And really, we're encouraging people to focus on the Sustainable Development Goals, ultimately to improve the lives and prospects of people all around the world at a time when inequality is increasing and temperatures are rising.
And you're going to be speaking to organisations like World Resources Institute Africa, Trócaire, as we've said, plus bringing in a number of local groups as well to give their perspectives.
Yes, so we have a programme called the Seeds of Change programme, where we support local community groups by giving them some funding, but also pairing them with a Changemakers mentor to look at issues of sustainability and how these local actions can think globally.
Now, one of Changemaker's partner organisations is Trócaire, and David O'Hare is Communications Officer and Internal Communications Specialist with Trócaire. David, a very good morning to you.
Donal, good morning. Great to see you.
You too. Now, you will be speaking specifically at the seminar about your recent trip to Somalia and the effects that climate change is having there. Now, we have discussed Somalia in the past in terms of famine and in terms of the political situation there, and there have been issues, as we know. But climate change now really something that's being felt in Africa, and maybe it's being felt in countries like Somalia without the attention being paid to it there that's starting to be paid, albeit slowly, in places like Ireland and Europe.
Absolutely, and I'm absolutely delighted to be invited up on Friday to the event to speak to people. So really what I'll be doing, Donal, is giving a first-hand account, a personal account of what I saw on the ground in Somalia. And I returned a few weeks ago now, but Somalia, when I was there, is in the grip of the worst drought in 40 years. And it's all fueled by climate change. So I've worked for Trócaire for 18 years, Donal. I've been to many humanitarian situations. I've never been in a situation as catastrophic as that one in Somalia at the moment. So half the population in Somalia, over 8 million people, are actually facing starvation, chronic malnutrition and starvation. And to put in context for the listeners, that's more obviously than the entire population of our island here at home. So I was able to speak to the people there, hear what they're going through. 40,000 people died last year alone. And as you've rightly said, it's not getting the attention internationally that it deserves. I was very privileged to be able to sit with people and talk to them about what they have been through and the challenges they faced. I spoke to one mother who said she had to leave her home. Over 4 million people have had to leave home in Somalia, basically because their livestock has died, their crops have died, they have no other way of feeding themselves. So they're making what they call the long walk, and that's how they describe it, sometimes over 100 kilometres, to try to get to IDP camps, so these internally displaced people's camps, just to see if they can get some emergency food aid to save themselves and their children. One mother told me that she had actually lost 3 of her children. She had to, and this is very stark, but it is the reality. She actually lost 1 child on the journey from home to the camp. So this is the human face of the tragedy that's going on there at the moment. Trócaire's been there for over 30 years. And we actually run the only healthcare services in a region the size of Ireland, Donal, a place called Ghetto. And we're called the Mother of Health by the people of Ghetto. So we have clinics, we have health centres, we have outreach posts. And there is hope amidst the tragedy because we're saving lives every day. We're seeing thousands of people every week coming through those facilities. It has gotten worse recently, but we're there on the ground saving lives, particularly young children and mothers. And that wouldn't be possible without the support of your listeners, the people of Ireland, and also, of course, Irish Aid through the Irish government.
Moira, in terms of the issues that are going to be discussed at the event on Friday, as well as having organisations like Trócaire and Self-Help Africa and so on, you're going to have local organisations as well, local people giving their perspectives. The hope always is going to be that by acting more here, you could do more to help in places like Somalia. Is it your hope that's what's going to come out of the conference, that we'll get ways that we can actually help in a very practical way that will make David's job easier and make the job of the other agencies over in places like Somalia easier?
Yes, that's it. I mean, at its root, it's that connection between local and global, and helping people to recognise at an urgent time that, you know, local issues are global issues, and we all have our part to play, no more than the discussion about sustainability. But it's looking at actions like, for example, Dunfanaghy Family Resource Centre, as part of the Seeds of Change programme, brought people together to understand the economic systems that are active in Ireland, in the world, and ended up in a conversation about the value of unpaid caring. So it's helping people to understand their community, their society, and to ask questions about that society in order to bring about changes to make it more equal for everyone in the world.
And speaking of Dunfanaghy, one of the things you've been pushing very much is the move toward fair trade, and we know Donegal County Council is talking about becoming a fair trade organisation. We've got a number of designated fair trade towns in Donegal. There's more being done in that respect. Now, ultimately, the hope is that designating fair trade towns and fair trade organisations is going to feed into ensuring that farmers in countries like Somalia are in a sustainable situation. But now what David is telling us, obviously because of the drought situation over there, that's a horrendous situation, that perhaps, you know, fair trade, it's going to go beyond that to find a resolution. But hopefully those changes can be made. David, I want to go back to you and perhaps give you the final word, because the work you're doing on the ground is going to be in some way hopefully helped and informed by what's being done by people like Myra in counties like Donegal. And I suppose it can only be to the good. The more you get done in terms of fair trade, the more you get done in terms of conferences and seminars like this, the more it's going to feed into a global discussion and ultimately maybe get the sort of global changes necessary to help countries like Somalia.
Absolutely. In your previous discussion around sustainability, Donal, you used the phrase think globally, act locally. And that's why the work of change makers is so important, because for Trócaire, it's not a question of charity, it's a question of justice. And people in Somalia, they've contributed 0.08% to global emissions, and yet they're one of the most at-risk countries. So again, it's a question of those who've done least to contribute to climate change are suffering most. So the work change makers and others are doing is absolutely vital if we're going to tackle this problem.
David O'Hare, Communications Officer and Internal Communications Specialist with Trócaire, and Myra McAuliffe, the Changemakers Coordinator in Donegal. Thank you both very much indeed for speaking to us this morning. That event taking place at the Station House Hotel in Letterkenny on this coming Friday. Myra, open to everybody?
Yes, absolutely. Open to everyone. And you can visit our website, changemakers.ie, to find the Eventbrite link. Thank you.
Myra, David, thank you both much indeed. That's it for the 9 till noon show for today. John Breslin's up next around the Northwest. We will have Caroline Orr. Caroline Orr did produce, and Niamh took your calls as well. Thank you to both of them. Thank you to all our contributors. Thank you to those who listened and took part in the programme. Most importantly, thank you to you. For myself, Donal Kavanagh, have a very good day.
Disney's The Lion King in Dublin. More to be seen than has ever been seen. Join Highland Radio on our trip on Thursday, 26th of October,